Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Journey of the Modern Yogi. Today, I got two special surprises for you. One is the person I'm interviewing. Monica Fischer is my significant other, the love of my life, inspiration, and just an amazing human being. So we get to talk with her a little bit about what she's got going on and why I think she's an amazing human being. But the second surprise is about 20 minutes into it, she decides to flip it and interview me. So you get to hear a little bit more about my past, my path also, and some of the things that have led me to where I'm at, and some of the cool things that I guess I've been doing. So really excited to bring you the conversation, and hope you get something out of it. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to Journey of the Modern Yogi. I'm your host, Adam Reel. Sitting across from me today is a joy to interview. This is my beautiful counterpart, my life partner, the woman that is probably the most inspirational thing in my life. She is on a beautiful path on her own. We are lucky enough to share a lot of our common desires and loves in life through yoga, through Reiki, through energy, and through that we're able to grow together, which is awesome. You know, we're growing as a couple, we're growing as humans, we're growing energetically, and we're growing spiritually. And so I would love to introduce the lovely, amazing, and beautiful life partner of mine, Monica Fischer. Oh, I pulled some tears out there.
Huh? Go on.
Yeah.
That was a lot. That was really beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate
you.
it. You know, we share a household, share a lot of loves, share a lot of the same interests, and it makes it easier in a way because we do have a lot of the same interests, but it also makes it kind of challenging in a way because we do have so much of the same interests that we're like, for example, this last weekend, the challenge was, okay, you have a sound bath, or no, you have a women's circle that is going to incorporate a sound bath, and I have a sound bath that is across the street. So how do we maneuver all of this around to where you can still get all your successes and I can still, take care of all the people I got to take care of?
How do we negotiate who uses what in the instruments?
Totally.
Right, but
totally.
that worked out really well.
It worked out great.
Really well.
You had a great women's circle.
It didn't
awesome.
rain.
It didn't rain. Nope. Your
Didn't rain.
witchiness
100%
kept it
rain
all
on
away.
the forecast. It didn't rain.
Yeah, 100% chance of rain for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? From the 7 o'clock hour for like maybe a minute. And then like it just disappeared. But there was no rain. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. But it happened too at like 10 minutes. Like I was monitoring the rain all week long.
Yeah.
And lack of rain. It was
Right.
like the only day that was full sunshine. It was
Yeah.
72 degrees, not a cloud in the sky or on the app. It was just supposed to be very beautiful. And then like the day before it was like, okay, a cloud.
Yeah.
And then the morning of, it wasn't going to get nice until 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and then noon and then 1
Yeah.
and then 4. And I'm just like, oh no.
Such a terrible game.
And I didn't have a backup plan because 72 degrees without a cloud in the
Yep.
sky,
Right.
like end of May.
Yep.
I didn't have, a fool. It was a lesson learned. I like called Elena at B1. Love that studio. And
Big
love
shout
her
out
for
B1.
being so
Yep.
flexible
Shout out
of
to
like,
Elena.
I need blankets. And also if it rains, can I use the studio, please? So she was more than willing to let us, and if that came down. So then 10 minutes before, I like just kind of popped open the app of like, all right, how are we looking?
Yeah.
And it was like in 6 minutes from now, 90% rain. In 1 hour from now, 100% rain. And I mean, there was like flowers, candles, blankets. Everybody was outside. I had a fire going. This like tea station, just like was a real ruffled. And what a hard thing for all of those women to like come into. They're all arriving. I'm panicking.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know what to do. I'm just like walking around. I'm not like being intentional, welcoming everybody. And then a couple of, we've been doing this a long time. And a couple of the women that come like, hey, hold up. Let's take a breath. We're Pacific Northwest babes.
Yeah.
A little rain's not going to hurt anybody.
Exactly.
And is it really going to rain? I don't see any rain.
Yeah.
And so they kind of, talked me off the cliff, and then it didn't rain. And
There
we
you
had
go.
this beautiful evening outside.
Yep.
It was perfect.
God, those moments remind me when I used to work in restaurants, and my buddy Robin and I talk about this a bit, but when we used to work at Red Hook over in Woodinville, and we would lament over weather like that or whether we should open the patio or not. It's like, no, we're not going to open the patio. We're not going to call in 10 servers. We're going to be fine. And then it just kind of gets nicer. And we're like, no, we're not going to do it. And then it gets nicer and like, Fuck. Now we have to open the patio and we have to call all these people in. It's all chaos and madness. Anxiety.
I know, don't miss that at all.
Good times.
Yeah, it was a while. It's been a while since I've like felt that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
good stuff.
it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always
The ladies
is.
had a great time. Yeah.
We had a great time.
Definitely. Yeah. And so you're doing these women's circles now more regularly now that the weather's getting a bit nicer, right? You were doing them online for a little bit during COVID.
Well, so we had one full year
Yeah.
of women's circles at B1.
Right.
And then, and this is BC before COVID.
Right.
And then COVID and came out pretty strong on the internet game. With the Zoom, did a couple women's circle. I did one with Lauren, one with Carmen on manifestation. We had a lot of people in those first couple. And then once it started getting nice,
Yeah.
it got a little harder. The attendance started thinning out.
Yeah.
And Carmen and I had our retreat. We like went all in on women's circle Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
And did like a 2-day,
stay at
3-day
home.
awesome. Yeah, stay home.
Yeah.
It was so good. And then I think I stopped it in July. And then August we had one in our backyard. And that's when we brought it back. Everybody came back, was so excited to gather, and had everybody like 10 feet apart, which was really awesome. And then we did another one in the backyard the end of October. So I think, end of October, November for Samhain.
Nice.
We had a really cool kind of seance. Like, it's Samhain, the Day of the Dead. It's to honor and celebrate people that have crossed over in the thin layer.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so we
yeah.
had like candles. I invited everybody to dress up as a witch. So it was Allison, I think, who was Mindy came this last week. She's like, yeah, you said to dress up as a witch, and I didn't know what that meant until I showed up and everybody was in pointy hats. I'm like, yeah, a witch.
Yeah, that's what that meant. Yeah. I think that that
as
Samhain one, I piggybacked off y'all's energy and I took a bath upstairs while y'all were doing your thing, and I just like really absorbed y'all's energy from whatever y'all were manifesting and creating down there.
It was so good. Another perfect night. You know, it was like clear and cold and crisp and autumny, and just like it was great. That was a great one. So and that was the last one. Was the Samhain, and then because we went into winter time, and then I pieced out, and
then we COVIDed again in November. Everything shut down again, and all that.
You can't count on any kind of weather. December, January, February.
Yeah, I mean, shit. This time of the year, you can barely count on the weather.
Almost in it.
Yeah, y'all were lucky. Y'all were lucky.
Yeah. So I'm so excited to have them back again, and you know, we've got a really core group of women that come to them and see a little bit about what a women's circle is.
Totally, yeah.
Or what it can be. Where do I start? Back it up?
Wherever you want.
Back it up.
Yeah.
Okay. There I was. In my teacher training, there was a girl named Courtney. Okay. So this is yoga teacher training when I first heard about women's circles. And we were going around day one introducing ourselves, and Courtney was like, I'm women goddess ceremony certified for hosting women's circles. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
So I looked this woman up. Her name is Cassandra Wilder. Big shout out to her and Courtney. And Cassandra has been spending the last few years, this is a couple years ago, guiding women in like retreat form, Thursday through Sunday situation. So I actually linked up with her and cooked for her retreats a couple times and got to see like what happens when women gather on a firsthand experience and the before and after, and how powerful those experiences was. You dance, you sing, you meditate, you do yoga, you eat, or you don't do any of those things. If you want to sit them out, that's okay too.
And that's I love that about those, is that you don't have to be a part of it, and that's your part of it, right?
Totally.
You can do exactly what you want to do you, right? And that's the best.
Isn't that like a side tangent of like people coming in and like laying down in the yoga room? I'm like, it's okay if you want to just be in this room.
Right. So I've taken it to the moniker of calling it do you asana. So there's a little bit of do you asana. Do whatever you want. That's your pose. Do whatever makes you feel right? Whether it's a break in class and we do an inversion do you asana break, or you're in the middle of class and you need to do you asana and come down and take a break and get some water. Do you asana, right? That's you. This is your practice. I ain't judging you. Nobody's judging you. Get down and take a break if you need it.
Well, and there's something to be said about feeling like the energy of others.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like, I don't know. It's very, very powerful.
Yeah, it's
on
palpable
its own.
sometimes.
And like, totally. I remember when you used to meditate in the room when I was still sleeping.
Oh, right. Yeah. When we,
I
yeah.
miss that. I loved that so much because it was like all
meditation
in
via
you.
osmosis.
Oh, I was like, okay, I like got a meditation in my sleep.
Yeah.
I always felt like I
Well,
like had a part of it.
once I transitioned to mantra and chanting practices during my meditation, it's like, well, I can't really sit here and chant quietly and let you sleep peacefully, so I'm just gonna go to another room now.
Can you imagine just like sleeping though and just oh
Yeah, like all these guttural sounds, like Goenka, Essen Goenka is he's passed away now, but he's the one of the guys that brought Vipassana meditation to popularity, and especially in the West, and helped open a bunch of Vipassana centers, which Monica and I have attended a couple of Vipassana meditations. And so, when you're silent for 10 days straight and you can't talk, write, read anything but meditate 11 hours a day meditating, and I can't even really see and communicate with Monica because it's segregated by sexes. The inside jokes that come from that afterwards are pretty freaking hilarious. And Goenka is a chanter, and he really gravelly gutturals those last few breaths of that mantra out, where it's just like,
yeah. It really drives it home.
You're like, he's still going. Oh my god, he's still going. Like, what's in there?
You like you open one eye. I'm like, is it still going? Okay.
Oh yeah. So
oh,
yeah,
man, that's so
so
funny.
Yeah.
Sweet tangents. I feel like I don't even know what we were talking about. The women's circles.
Women's circles. Yeah.
Which is funny because I actually have. Okay, back it up. So then after going there, seeing what they do, she hosts certification programs as well. And
Right.
I did a training with her of how to hold space for women because I was just really inspired.
Awesome.
And then I came back and B1 gave me a place and started it up. So each month we have a different topic. We've talked about connection, chakras, self-love, different than self-care.
Right. Definitely. Most definitely.
What else? There's the Samhain, we've done Sarah. And so I'll have like a topic. And so the idea is like shared wisdom.
Right.
And, I am no expert. So it's either something that I'm really passionate about or I'm really inspired to learn about. And so
Cool.
I make that very clear. Like, I am not the person that knows everything. I'm learning with you. So let's share with each other. I'm not trying to like just sit here and talk at you.
Right.
I want to like open this floor up and create a safe space. But that's kind of a interesting because, as safe as I try to create it, only the person can feel safe. That's on
Right.
their own. And
Yeah.
so I like to call it a brave space. So
Right.
creating a brave space where we have shared wisdom on whatever topic that we have at hand. And then there's usually some kind of like activity or something that happens, whether it's a sound bath or a burning ceremony or ecstatic dance. We've made bath salts and potions and stuff. And so we've got next month is flower crowns,
Oh
which
yeah,
I'm like
that's
super
right,
excited
yeah.
about for solstice.
I've already heard buzz about that one.
It's
Yeah.
buzzing. It's buzzing.
Yeah.
Allison's going to help me host it.
Yeah, Frankie, big
so
shout
it'll be
out to
really
Frankie.
exciting. She's been to every single one,
Yep.
and she's never hosted one, so that'll be really exciting.
Cool.
So they're just a lot of fun, and what I think makes it one of the many reasons that makes it so special is that sometimes you can feel alone,
Yeah.
and I find that when people start to open up, when women start to open up, and somebody else is like, okay, let's say I'm having problems with my children. And then this mother's like, I'm having problems. And then this one's
Right.
like, I'm having problems. Okay, I've got anxiety. I've got anxiety. I've got anxiety. I had this eating disorder. I had an eating disorder. It really gives you that support that you
Right.
might not have, that realize that you're not alone, that you have this community of people. And sometimes it just takes building that space where you can talk about it openly. And so really important to just create that. And they end up being really refreshing for everybody, to my knowledge.
Yeah, totally.
Everybody seems pretty vibed. And then I always have like some kind of special gift, that they get. So pretty great.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that concept and idea, when you create that container of vulnerability and you allow the safety to be vulnerable, and then you see people experience that safety and you experience that vulnerability and you see them maintain their safety with that, it really does set a good example for those people that are just a little maybe too timid to come out and say what's really bothering them or what's really on their mind. And, through that vulnerability is where our healing starts, and when we can see vulnerability in others, then we can trust ourselves to be vulnerable and have that space be held for us. and that's beautiful.
Well, it's interesting that you're saying that. And so there is a time and place. We talked about this on Saturday because our
Okay.
topic was healthy boundaries.
Yeah,
And there's a time and place where you can be too vulnerable.
I agree. I
And,
do agree with that.
I think,
Yeah.
and we talked about it was like, you overshare
Mm-hmm.
with somebody that maybe, I don't want to say you shouldn't overshare with somebody, but like, and so what I like about the circle, it is the place that you overshare.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
It is so welcomed, and just get it all out, sister. We are
Yeah.
here for you. Burn it if you need to. We'll
Yeah.
aho and hoot and holler and
Yeah.
howl, which I know you've heard.
Oh yeah.
And so it is that safe, sacred, brave spot that you can get it all out
Right,
instead of like maybe because sometimes you have those interactions. I know I have, and I just had one pretty recently where I just kind of bleh on somebody, and they were asking a couple questions, but I walked away and I didn't feel very good.
Right.
And when you like cleanse and talk and speak, it should always, leaving discussions like that should always make you feel like uplifted and supported. And when you don't, I think it's a good indication that maybe could have dialed it back, and really reading the room, because it's so easy if you're an open sleeve such as myself, or wear your heart on your sleeve, open book, because I am. I tell everybody everything, ain't got nothing to hide.
Right.
And but sometimes I'm like, I wish I didn't tell them that.
Well, and I agree to that to an extent, but I also disagree because like we've had these conversations before, like when you feel that you are ready to share something, it's not up to you to determine how that person is going to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And even if that person, like, let's say, let's just say it's something very personal, right? You shared something like you got gout in your big toe. Like, oh man, shouldn't told anyone about that gout in my big toe. Right. But you're giving that person an opportunity to accept that information in a special way and do with it as they wish, right? You just put the information out there. You can't control how they accept it. So you practicing your vulnerability by putting stuff out there is not a bad thing, because it's giving that person an opportunity to accept vulnerable information in a special way that they might not be used to. And even if that information doesn't land with them right in that that moment, it might give them something to marinate on in the future and be like, you know what, maybe there's something to this vulnerability. Maybe I'll try that out. Giving you something to think about, if like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have shared that much, that can be your thing down the road, whether or not you choose to take that information and continue to share or dial it back a little bit. But you overshared, quote unquote, overshared for a reason, right? And I think that moment and that opportunity gives yourself something to marinate on, but also gives that other person something to be like, whoa, why did they just tell me about the gout in their toe? Maybe I can tell them about this hole in my heart that I got, and create that little bit of openness, right?
Yeah.
So.
A hole in your heart.
Well, I don't have a hole in my heart.
Gout in your toe. Why are they different? Both things suck.
Well, yeah, they both suck, and they're both more or less self-induced, right?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Well, gout, is caused by overeating meats and red wines and things like that, over sulfates and stuff like that. And hole in your heart, you're definitely part of that. You're not. We are not guiltless in the mutual relationships that cause pain and suffering.
Yeah.
Right. We definitely have a part in that. Even if, like, say it's an adultery, right? Your spouse cheated on you or something like that. There's still, you might not have said, hey, go out and cheat on this person, but there was something that led to that, right? That opens that hole in your heart, right? And that's for us to figure out and to repair, right? Those holes are there for a reason. Those moments of vulnerability, those are there for a reason. Those, whatever it is, right? It all manifests in a way it's supposed to, right? Depending on your belief system. And I do believe that it manifests the way it's supposed to. And it's whatever we do with that information as we get it that helps us continue on our path. Right?
Yeah.
In a special way,
Yeah.
Never easy,
Right.
Sometimes terrifying and terrible, but, there are learning moments. Yeah. One of the things I've been trying to do is just get out of my own way. That's one thing that I've been hearing over and over again, is that when we can stop resisting the flow of the universe, then we will diminish a lot of our sadness and sorrow. And, let's take the other day for an example. I was bouncing around, watering plants, in the house. I'm like, oh, a bamboo plant. Water the bamboo plant, put some water in there. And something bumped into the bamboo plant, and this bamboo that I've had for 20 years, more or less, the vase shattered and all the water went everywhere.
I was wondering if this was the story.
Right, totally.
I
Yeah.
know what happens next.
Yeah, and I was like, oh crap, this bamboo that's been, I've had my whole day planned out. I was just gonna water the plants real quick and then continue on. I had the sound bath and help you with the women's circle and all this stuff, right? And now I got this broken vase that I got to deal with, because if I don't, this plant's gonna die, and I've had this plant longer than I've had my kids, right? So I want to make sure this plant's alive. And so instead of getting upset about, shit, now I have to carve out time for this in my day, it's like, nope, this is where the universe take me,
Totally.
And it said, okay, this plant, and whenever the vase did break, that plant was so root bound in that vase that it didn't have more room to grow and breathe and survive. So in a way, that vase was probably, that bamboo plant was like,
Broke
hey,
out of its own cage.
totally, I'm gonna break out of this mf'er, and we're gonna get some new pot. I'm gonna get a new home. I want a new hermit shell. I want a new thing. I need something shiny, new rocks, all that shit, right? And now I was got a new home. Be happy as
Yeah, I thought
know?
you did handle that. I don't know if I actually told you that, but you did handle that really well.
I appreciate
because
that.
there was a lot going on, and the day was halfway in.
Cut my hand a couple times on the
yeah,
vase,
totally.
all the things
And
were
it made a
happening.
huge mess.
Big old mess.
And it
So,
wasn't
yeah.
something that could be like, oh, I'm just gonna put it here and deal with it later. It was like, oh, I need your attention now.
Totally.
Next
I even
thing
had to
know,
call my mom.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
heard.
I had to call mom. I had
I
to call
know.
Faye Reel up and be
I
like, Faye,
know.
I got this root bound plant. Can I cut it open?
What do
What's
I
going
do?
on?
I know.
Things
Well,
were happening.
And I loved that you went to Molbach's, not Fred Meyer's, nothing against Fred Meyer's, but you went to go pick out the proper plant holder
Yeah.
for it, the pot. You really just were like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, we got this.
Shift.
Yeah. Embrace it, not fight it,
Well, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Totally. Yeah.
Sometimes I
It's
fight
sometimes
it.
easier than others, we still fight it. We're like, no, I had plans. This is my thing.
Fired up.
I'm doing this, and I don't want to do this. I want to do this. I
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
Yeah. I was like, surprise, you have no choice.
Exactly.
Well, it's funny that we're now 20 minutes in, and I have a surprise for you.
Oh, what's that?
Well, I'm kind of nervous, but I'm excited.
Okay.
I think it'll go well. All right. Well, okay. So you wanted me to, to interview you. You asked me to sit down with you and have a chat about all the cool things that I think that they're cool. You think that they're cool that
Yeah.
I'm up to.
Totally.
But you're 7 episodes in.
Yeah, I think so. I think Marianne was my 6th. This week, Larissa comes out. It'll be the 7th. This is not coming out in any tangible order. So when you hear this, you'll be like, this could be
Right,
February. Right?
Yeah.
But right now, yeah, I have 5 out, 6 out, and then the 7th is coming out this week. Yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity because you know where I live.
I do,
And
yeah.
that we can do this again sometime, that I interview you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I think that the world, 8 episodes in,
All right,
needs
yeah.
to know who their host is. And
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
you have so much
All
to
right.
say. And I love your story so much. And I would have it would be my honor.
Oh, curveball.
Curveball.
All right.
Plot twist.
Well, and there you go.
Are
Man.
you
This is the universe leading us where it needs to lead us, and I could be my old self and resist it and be like, no, I have an agenda.
have a plan.
I have I have a plan. I'm the planner. Ooh. God, I piss myself off with my plan sometimes.
Well, it's just, you might, I wonder how much of it that you notice if you wouldn't be dating the least planner, most free spirited, fly with the wind, no plan kind of gal.
Yeah, the dichotomy of our relationship is pretty strong sometimes, Yeah, it's like literally oil and water.
It is.
It's like, why
It
aren't
is,
they? But we make it work.
I'd say
Yeah.
oil and vinegar because they go really
Well, they do
oil and
actually
water.
go to work together.
I guess if you're
Yeah.
boiling noodles, but oil and vinegar, with,
They end up
some
going
salt,
together.
pepper. Oh yeah, and they
Yeah.
look beautiful together too.
Oh,
They make
yeah.
the little designs, and then you just dollop
Oh yeah. Who's the bread?
some bread.
Yeah.
Who's the olive?
Olive. No. Olive loaf bread. There you go.
That's our 11-year-old, 10-year-old American Eskimo. All right.
All right. Well, shit. What you got?
This is Journey of the Modern Yogi. I'm Monica Fischer, your host.
Oh.
And today is our guest, Adam Matthew Reel.
Matthew with one T.
With one T.
Yeah, if you're catching on that there.
Yep.
Yeah. Matthew.
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 I kind of said it like that too.
Yeah, you did.
Force of habit.
All right. Well, shit. What do you got?
Well,
Yeah.
I think, I've had the honor of knowing you since 2004. So I saw before yoga
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
meditation and where you are now, Adam.
Right.
I think that there was definitely still a part of you that, I think that we're born with this,
Right,
you're
yeah.
born into this. You always have those mindful moments, but until you truly tap in,
Right.
And then I got to, as friends, watch you start to tap in,
Right. Yeah.
tap
A little
in,
bit
get
deeper.
more tattoos. And then
Yeah.
I
Yeah, you met me. I was pretty fresh skinned. I had maybe 3 tattoos,
yeah,
and now I don't even know
too
how
many.
many. Yeah.
Covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just call it one now. I have one tattoo.
Yeah.
It's just my entire body, more
It's
or
a
less.
coloring
Yeah,
book.
it's a common coloring book. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love like thinking about that older Adam. He's got a dear place in my heart,
Yeah.
as young Monica does too. I was 18, you were 23 when we met.
23. Yep. Right before I had my first kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, Peyton was born.
Oh, Peyton was born.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
she was
Yeah.
a baby. I remember the way that she looks at me still is the way that she looks at me.
Yeah.
17 years old.
Slightly confused.
And I'm just kind of taking things in.
Yeah, she's very observant.
She's very observant.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, what are you actually thinking?
Yeah.
I love wondering that. And then I love when she shares with me.
Yeah. She's
such a brilliant young
she's got a
woman.
deep soul.
She really does, and
Yeah.
she always has. As
Yeah.
a baby, you could see it. It was really cool. So I'm so, I love that part about our relationship is that like I've known your oldest daughter since she was born.
Right. Yeah.
But so I guess let's back it up.
Back it on up.
You are not from here.
I'm not. No.
You're a Southern man.
Yes, I am. I'm a transplant.
I got me a Southern man.
Yeah. I was actually born in Detroit, and I lived there for only 6 months. Right. Not there long at all. And then my older brother was 2 at the time, and then mom and dad decided to move down to Texas. Dad got a job down in Texas, and moved down to Houston area, and that's where I spent the next 20-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
Instilling all of the things that I would have to reverse in life.
Yeah.
All of the pain and suffering,
Including the accent.
all of the damage
You
that
don't
I've
have
done.
a Southern accent.
Well, I Fay real. I'll never admit. This is a joke, and I always joke about this. But and Fay real never laid a hand on me. But I always joke that my mom slapped the accent out of me. People are like, "Where's your accent at?" I'm like, "Mom slapped it out of me."
Yeah, it's funny because both your brothers, even your brother that lives here,
Yeah.
that's lived here as long as you
Yeah.
has an accent. You're just
Well, we have a drawl.
a draw. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and
absolutely.
I've not been drinking now for 2 years, but when I did drink, that accent, that drawl came out pretty heavy when I was intoxicated.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of the slow downness of the slur, and Texas is very it's a very slow kind of dialect. And so yeah, it comes out a lot when I drink.
Yeah.
And but I don't drink anymore. So
Accents come out when I drink too.
yeah.
I remember we went
Yeah,
down to
but-
Texas and I was like,
Yeah, accents you don't even hold on to. You're not even born with. You just incorporate these accents as you start to drink.
when I was working in the restaurants, I used to love like talking in an accent just halfway through their experience. And then like when their entrees land, I'll just stop.
Oh, there you go. Jesus Christ.
So did you grow up with any spirituality in your
No, not at all.
No.
Not at
So
all.
that came later. And
Yeah.
where did it all begin?
So my mom, bless her heart, and that's a double entendre because in the South we use bless her heart as you're an idiot. Oh, bless your heart.
Oh, yeah,
You're-
cute.
Oh, look at you. Bless your
sweetie.
heart. You're kind of an idiot. But my mom, bless her heart, my dad was around. My dad and my mom, raised us all together. My dad passed away about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And but my dad was coast-to-coast truck driver, so he wasn't around much. And my mom, bless her heart, had 3 young boys, all 2 years apart. So let's say my older brother Aaron was 6, I was 4, Andy was 2, right? So, and my mom attempted to take us to Catholic church because that's where she grew up, as Catholic. And so you can imagine a amazing saintly woman at the edge of her rope.
Fayreal is a saint.
Fayreal is a saint. It's been said for many years
I have
now.
a T-shirt
I have
that
a
says
t-shirt.
Fayreal is
There's
a
a
saint.
goddamn pumpkin carved that said Fayreal's a saint.
She really is.
Yeah, Saint Fayreal. She really is. Fayreal, big shout out to Fayreal. She raised most of the Houston area. She worked for the Child Development Center at the YMCA. She pretty much raised the entire Houston area. She's
She's a
fucking
phenomenal
saint. Yeah.
woman. Yeah.
But so this saintly woman, before she reached full sainthood, tried to take 3 young screaming boys to a Catholic church and proceed to play the hokey pokey, right? Stand up, sit down, kneel, sing. Stand up, sit down, kneel, sing. Put your left foot in and then fucking sing, and put your right foot in and stop picking your nose and do all these, So it lasted maybe like 3 times, and mom's like, yeah, F this. You find religion on your own. And so, like, I kind of did, I kind of tried it out. When I got to an age in my teen years, my friends were in Young Life. there was, I think the church a lot of kids went to was Oak Ridge Baptist Church in our area, and you know, I never really fit in as a kid. You know, I was overweight. I was kind of shy and quiet. You know, I lived in my older brother's shadow for a long time, and not in a bad way, but in a protective way, right? I was they used to call me Little Big Real, you know, because I was younger than my older brother, but also
Little
bigger.
big. I've never heard that.
Little Big Real.
Oh my God.
Because
6 years in this relationship and
Yeah.
you're Little Big Real. Because I know Little Real.
That's Andy.
That's Andy.
Big Real's Aaron.
Well, I didn't never like.
He's the oldest.
Yeah.
So I'm Little Big Real because
No.
I'm the biggest in our family
Yeah, I
as far
get
as
it.
height wise, but yeah. And so I never and I mean I had friends like Joel, Rob, Drew. I mean I had people that I grew up with and was really close to, but I floundered a lot before I met that friend group, and so yeah, I tried out religion, and I went to that Baptist church, and I lasted maybe 3 weeks, and I was like, man, this is bullshit. Y'all are more hypocritical than anything I've ever met in my life. I mean, the parents were talking shit about the kids that didn't show up. The parents were talking shit about the other parents that didn't show up. Oh, John must be hungover from his fucking poker game the night before, blah, 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 doesn't care about God, and all this shit. And I'm like, man, y'all are some fucking hypocrites, and I'm 14 years old. I'm like, this is bullshit, right? This is all y'all... And I'm not bashing all religion. This is my experience with religion, right? And I think I had to have this experience with religion to know that it's not for me, right? I didn't hear this until later on in life, but I really adopt it now. And again, I'm not talking shit about religion. It serves its purpose, right? If you need a God to tell you what the fuck to do to be good and to have some kind of honor, listen to that God. Please do good, right? If you can find that on your own, do it on your own then, right? But the quote that I love that about religion and spirituality is that religion is for people that are scared of hell. Spirituality is for people that have been through hell, right? So, so I kind of effed off religion. Like, this doesn't work for me. Found drugs, went into drugs for a while. And not, nothing too crazy as far as drugs go. I definitely dabbled with all the things. I didn't shoot anything into my body. I didn't, no crack or no meth, nothing out of crazy pipes, but I put all the things in my nose, took all the pills, dabbled a lot with LSD, peyote, hallucinogenics, which I think in a way at that time, I was definitely not utilizing those in the way that I do now in the spiritual journey way, but I was, medicating and playing it as a child and loving watching the bumps in the carpet move. Right. And so, yeah, I was a dumb kid, right? Got involved with drugs. I was drug dealing, all that fun stuff. So, but, looking back at my life, like I can see those little modicums of spirituality that entered in, right?
Well,
and so,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, because I've heard about this time in your life, and
Yeah.
some of the stories are crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah, listen to my other podcast, Zen and Not Zen, for
Yeah,
more of my
yeah,
crazy ass stories
yeah.
about how I grew up.
It's just insane. Cars blowing up and things,
Yeah.
just crazy chaos.
Yeah, we did some
But you
shit,
had a couple people, like I know you had a woman named Deb
I did,
in your
man.
life
Deb,
that
yeah.
like had this amazing. You've told me about her house of like this like. Wasn't there like mosaics that were being built,
Yeah.
and she was into crystals
Definitely.
and like a really like a jam room.
Yeah,
And just
Deb was the first spiritual woman I've ever met that I knew was like, oh, you're different.
Mm-hmm.
But I can honestly say that I think Deb is like a deity. I think Deb was like a goddess or something that was sent into my life to say, hey, look, you're fucking some shit up, but here's somebody you can anchor yourself to for a little while.
Absolutely.
That's going to let you explore your life and let you fuck up. But also she's going to give you some cool advice when you come back and ask for it.
Plant that seed.
Yeah, she
right?
did, she did.
It's funny you're like saying, and I just for the first time ever, I'm like, who was the first spiritual person that I met? And it was my dad's ex-wife.
Oh yeah, I think you've actually talked to me about her.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
But I don't think you've mentioned the spiritual side
And
of her.
she like had like oracle cards, and she gave me this like energy magnet. I actually still have it. It's like a necklace that like is this like energy magnet.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like a bio wave. I don't remember. I'd have to like look it up.
BioWave sounds familiar.
It's
Yeah.
like some kind of
Yeah.
But she was just very like yes.
Yeah, you
okay.
get that pleasantness and
And,
that
like,
kind of neutrality, you know,
yeah.
like things just don't seem like they're bothering that person.
Well, I was like way too young to appreciate that because
Right.
she was like my dad's. And growing, I love my dad so much.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah, your
he's
dad's
a
a shit.
trumpet player.
Yeah, big shout out to
you know.
Fish. Yeah, he's like a staple in the Seattle music scene back in the day. That dude had so many bands. He played with Tower Power, played the national anthem at the Mariners game on his trumpet. Like the dude's a shit.
Sade.
Yeah.
Wait, there's another one. Barry White.
Barry White.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
put on Barry White's jacket.
yeah.
He's
Fish is a
got
shit,
like
man.
this like crazy story.
He still blames me for losing that battle of the bands.
Yeah,
Though.
he does.
Yeah, it's my fault.
He does.
Yeah, you roll into a battle of the bands that's run by a fresh graduate from the Art Institute of Seattle with a 14-piece fucking band. Yeah, you're gonna have some troubles.
Yeah.
You're gonna have some fucking troubles.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sorry, Fish. That's not
No,
that's not on me, man. That's not on me.
yeah, he really likes to hold. I said like 12 years now.
Oh yeah, every time I see a story.
But
about it,
I don't think I could appreciate Nancy because I was an angry teenager.
Yeah.
And there was, my dad had a couple other girlfriends before her, so I'm
Right.
like, oh, who are you?
Oh, this again,
just
right?
another one. I've seen this before, and it's up to me to run you out. That was
Right.
like my duty.
Yeah.
And she stayed very patient with me.
Yeah.
And just held the space.
you
And
go.
I look back at that feeling pretty bad. But we made it through.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of love for her because she was very patient.
Yeah. Just creating that container of happiness,
But yeah, totally.
Can't force it, but you can just hold space.
Totally.
If they
just
want to
hold
find it, it'll be
space.
there.
Yep. That marriage didn't end up working out for them, but
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta just let people go.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Okay, so then
But Deb, yeah. So
Deb.
I met Deb. So I was in a band called Joint Effort, and that is not a ripoff of the Red Hook beer. That was in 1998 before Red Hook beer was even popular. So that
I've
was
never heard of that
yeah.
beer.
So our band was called Joint Effort, and yes, it was a stoner double entendre. Like we smoked weed, and we liked to. It was a joint effort of musicians getting together to play music, right? So, I met Deb through our lead singer. Our lead singer's mom was a school bus driver for the Conroe Independent School District, and Deb drove bus with her, and Deb, I always heard stories about Deb and never met her, and wild parties that Deb would have, and all this cool house that she had, and then Eric, aka Stinky, he's our lead singer.
Oh boy.
Stinky, yep.
I had a stinky too.
Yeah, everybody's got a Stinky.
Really?
Is
that
come
thing?
on, everybody's got a friend that
Mine was
stinks.
stinky blue eyes.
Yeah, no, this was just straight Stinky. Yeah, Stinky. Eric Richards, big shout out.
Shout out. Yep, shout out stinky blue eyes.
Yeah. And so Stinky's mom introduced us to, or put us in front of Deb, and it was, the band was myself on guitar, Joel East on bass, big shout out Joel, Stinky on lead guitar and vocals, and then we had a rotating drummer. Sometimes it was Eric's brother Tyler, and sometimes it was this other guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And we, so we auditioned for Deb, and immediately, like, we went over there, and she had a stage in her house, and all this shit, and, like, immediately I just fell in love with this woman, and she fell in love with us. And we more or less just spent an entire summer there for, like, 4 months almost. And this woman's house was beautiful. It was designed and built by artists that stayed there. And so that was her commission for them staying there, was they had to contribute to the house in some kind of way. So when she took over the house from her parents, it was a chicken shack, like literally a chicken shack, like a 10 by 10 shack that ended up being a probably 4,000 square foot house because everybody that came built a room and then built art in that room.
Oh my gosh.
It was
Yeah, you could stay here, just build your own room.
Exactly. Totally.
We need to do that.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was amazing. And I remember sitting around Deb's table, and the very first time, probably not the first time I picked up a stone, but the first time I remember, she had this piece of turquoise that when I picked it up, it fit just naturally in my hand. Like, I closed my hand, my fingers around it, it fit in my palm, my fingers rested in the grooves, and then I switched hands and it did the same thing in the other hand, even though the grooves are different. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then she pulled tarot cards for me, she lit some incense, and I'm like, wow, this is great, and I just had this great experience with Deb. And she, but, at the same time, like, she was introducing us to the spiritual side, but we weren't ready to accept it fully. We were still partying and taking acid and doing all this stuff that disrespected, in a way, the energetic field that she was creating. But it was still there, right? And it was still there, and it's something that I look back very fondly of. And I've tried to reach out to Deb now in my older years and haven't really been able to find her, but I know she's still around. I know she hasn't passed. She was, let's see, at the time, she's probably in her 40s. And that was 20 years ago. She's probably 60s, in her 70s, 60s or 70s now. But yeah, so hung out with Deb for a while, and that was great. We wrote so much music over there. We switched the style of our band from a punk band to an acoustic band. Grew a lot as individuals. She had prayer paths all around her property, and so we could just wander around and see these crystals sitting in the prayer paths, and we'd sit down, and we weren't praying, we weren't meditating, but like just being around that energetic field was gorgeous, and it's it's funny because I'll have those moments in my meditations now where I think back and I'll have those visions of those moments, and I haven't thought about those moments in fucking decades,
Take yourself back to that moment.
Totally, yeah.
And that's, I love that because, you have 2 daughters. Like,
yeah.
Isn't that, like, I wonder how sometimes like what they're thinking.
Right. Yeah.
You know, of like all of this. Especially we gave up paper towels a couple of years ago. And they're
I thought
like,
Peyton was gonna shank me
yeah.
next. She's like, what?
But they've done great with the
Yeah.
transition. You know,
Totally.
eventually
Yeah.
it doesn't. Nobody even misses it.
Yeah.
But it is like those. You know, you plant those seeds, and like maybe at the time you're not receiving it, but it's still part of your life.
Right.
And whether you're like going all in and meditating or not. Like I remember when when we first started dating, like Harper would go down to that blue room, the
Yeah.
blue house, and like meditate with you.
Yeah. She'd sit down there with me. Yeah.
And like sit with you.
Totally.
But they still like, you know, they like to, we've had their phases of like, you know, there was a while when Peyton liked to go to yoga.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And both of them like the sound baths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
You know, it's all like when your time is right. You know,
Totally.
and the stuff is going to be around you when you're ready to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Right. It's not that this is just automatically going to just pop into your sphere of intelligence. It's
Oh,
like it's always there.
Totally.
It's always there. I just posted something on social media today. Let me see if I can find it while we're chatting. But you know, it's along the lines of I love the idea. Sometimes, like, as I read so much, like I read so much, so many books, so many
You're telling me
articles,
that?
listen to podcasts. Like I'm like so thirsty for knowledge.
Every day, Adam reads for an hour and a half to 2 hours every morning. You have a whole. We're going to talk about that. It's part of my. It's part. It's part of my interview here. I'm prepared. I've got like
Yeah,
notes
you
on my
are. Good
phone.
for
I
you.
came. Your morning routine is dialed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dialed. We'll get to it.
Okay, so the quote that I posted this morning is enlightenment or awakening is not a creation of new state of affairs, but a recognition of what already is. Right? So it's not like you're just all of a sudden recognizing something as something new. It's you're realizing something you've already known.
Absolutely.
You're like, oh my God, that's right.
Well, and even if there's just like spring, you know, especially with children, you know, I don't. Pretty rare that any child goes all in to one thing.
Yeah.
You know, but they do sometimes. Like we've got Hannah's son Huck, who's like he's a writer, right? And he illustrates and writes. He's all in, and so every once in a while you do, you know,
Right.
or like go all in. But those little sprinkles, you know, for them to just have and see and notice, and
Yeah. And then they see where they land as
like,
they get older, and
totally.
they manifest in their life some kind of way.
totally,
Yeah,
it's
most
just
definitely.
like just try to open them to all of the beautiful things of the world.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
awesome that you had that experience with Deb.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great.
And then you moved to Seattle.
I moved to Seattle. Yeah, it was kind of a choice. It was kind of a forced choice. But I was doing dumb kid shit. You know, I was selling drugs and getting in trouble, and I needed something different. And so I planned on moving to Seattle to go to school, and then my hand was kind of forced either way. I started getting a little bit more trouble, and the police were kind of looking for me, and so I kind of sped up my exit strategy and got the fuck out. Moved out to Seattle, tried to keep my nose clean for a while, and more or less did, you know. but yeah, I started life up here. Went to school and started working at Jillian's. That's where we met, and got into management from there. And so I graduated from the Art Institute with my degree in audio production, music business, and mildly used it. You know, I used it for some stuff around Seattle. I was
Messing
producing
up
bands.
Battle of the Bands.
Fucking up, fucking up Fish's Battle of the Bands, totally. And did some recording for demos and shit. You know, I had a lot of fun with it, but it wasn't a career. And during that time, I also became a father, and had Peyton at the age of 23. So I was a child having a child, right? Kid having a kid, and so had Peyton and continued on with my career, and then we had Harper, continued on with my career. Relationship dissolved, continuing on with my career. Next relationship dissolved, continuing on with my career. Right, never really paying attention to me as a human being, just what I felt like I needed to do to survive and take care of my family. And I was on paper, and I was taking care of my family, and I was surviving on paper, but I was fucking miserable. I was miserable. I was so unhappy, and it's not anybody's fault, right? It's not my kid's fault. It's not my ex's fault. It's me, right? And I back then didn't realize it. I blamed everybody. You know, it was not my fault. I had fucking kids too early, and unrealistic spouse, and blah blah blah. But nah, man, that's all me. My family was great. Those kids are amazing, and Sydney's a fantastic human being, right? So it's all me. And I'm wise enough to know that now, and see where I've had my missteps or my growth opportunities. Let's say that, and so. So how I got into yoga.
Yeah, I think
right?
we need to back up to one of those relationships
Okay.
because isn't that didn't Esther
Yeah.
introduce you to yoga?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so I'm a stubborn asshole. That's one of the reasons why I started doing all the self work
Don't
and
call
stuff.
yourself an asshole.
Okay. I was a stubborn asshole.
We don't talk
uh,
about ourselves
I
like
still,
that.
I still, I still hold on to modicums of dickishness, but I was a stubborn asshole, and my girlfriend at the time, Esther, who, again, fantastic human being, and she got me into yoga, but in a kind of roundabout way. So she started her own healthy path, and started getting into yoga. And at the time, like I've always done things for physical fitness. None of them have really stuck. I fluctuated with weight my entire life. Like the heaviest I've been was 280 ish, 270, 280 in high school. And then I lost a lot of weight, gained it back when I became a new father. And now I'm around like 155, right? So I've fluctuated quite a bit with weight. And so when Esther got into yoga, I was already doing like P90X shit in the garage and like doing cardio stuff like that. And again, stubborn, right? And so Esther's like, "Hey, let's go to yoga." And I'm like, "Nah, good." And Tony Horton had this like P90X yoga routine. And so like down deep, I'm like, I kind of wanted to go to yoga, but my male pride was like, "You don't know what they're doing. You don't understand what they're saying. You're going to look like a fucking idiot," right? All the male pride, all the
Well, I
bullshit.
think females
Okay, well, I can only
also
speak
have
from my,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's just the human. You don't know what you're doing.
yeah,
You're gonna
look
look
like
like
an
an
idiot. Yeah,
idiot.
totally.
You're gonna. But turns out
We're
none
all
of
doing
that
it. It doesn't matter at all. No,
matters.
totally. And so I was my thought was like, okay, I'm gonna do this P90X yoga a couple times and figure out what's going on, and then I'll bust into the yoga studio and be like, I know what I'm doing,
Oh, so you were gonna get in shape before going to
before going to get in
yoga. I
shape.
hear that one a lot
Totally.
too.
Yeah,
Like I need to
totally.
get in shape before I go to yoga. I'm like,
Yep.
that's like too dirty to take a shower.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just stupid. And so I did all that, and then Esther invited me to do a yoga nidra. And yoga nidra
Mm.
is more or less like sleep yoga, more or less, right? You're relaxed. You're not doing any poses. You have a guide that guides you through some kind of script about like a body scan or walking in the woods or some cool shit, right?
Mhm.
And so I went to the sound bath and or not sound bath, sorry. I went to the yoga nidra and was like, wow, well, this is the most peaceful I've ever felt in my entire life. And then I pretty much never left. And that was the studio down in downtown Kirkland. And then I mean, it just started off there, and I was going a couple times a week, starting to like just meet some people and understand my practice a little bit, and very very awkward, and just figuring out life. And I did that for a couple of years, off and on. I was never really committed.
So did yoga come before meditation for you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yoga was the first kind of like spiritual thing that I sought out. Not for the spiritual aspect, just for the
Right.
vanity, more or less. I'm on physical fitness and correct my lower back. Like I said, I was in restaurants for a long time. So I found yoga, and then a couple years after that, Esther and I's relationship dissolved. And oh, actually, no, sorry, before that, I lost my job. So I lost my job at iPick Theaters, and I remember leaving that place. I was super upset because I'd built that company, not company. I built that site from the ground up. I opened it. I had a lot of ego attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a lot of ego attached to it.
Like getting fired sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, yeah.
It's like
And
getting dumped.
so I yeah, right. And so I left, and I just immediately pointed my car in the direction of the closest bar. I was like, man, I'm just gonna go get fucking drunk. This is bullshit. I'm gonna drown my sorrows. And I'm driving, and I don't know if it was a voice, a feeling, whatever it was, but something was like, dude, you can't just keep repeating this fucking shit, man. You can't just keep this path up. This is your opportunity for a clear head. Do something different. And so I fucking turned left and I went to the yoga studio. And that was the start of my daily practice. And I started going every single day. Right? I didn't have a job for close to 3 weeks, maybe a month. I was at that studio every single day, a couple
Wow.
times a day, doing 12 classes a week. I just hit it hard, and to be fair, it was probably a little too hard. I
Mm-hmm.
probably went a little too much. But it was better than for
It
me. It was
kept you out of
kept me out of the
the
bars.
bottle.
It kept me out of the bottle, definitely.
Yeah.
And it started that healthy habits that I needed. And then a couple years after that is when my relationship with Esther dissolved. And again, I was faced with that. Hey, dude, your life kind of sucks right now. What are you gonna do about it? And I was doing yoga, and I was like, "Okay, go to yoga, go to yoga," and it seemed like it was working, but I was so fucking sad. It was just sad. It was a relationship that I thought was gonna last for a long time, and it was sad. Just and I was talking to Tang, who I had on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and Tang was told me I should meditate. You should sit down, just meditate,
Of course he
right?
did.
And I remember the first meditation I had. I sat down in my apartment, and I just got done from yoga. Just got home from yoga, and I sat down, and it was probably 8, 9 o'clock at night, so it's kind of dark. And my dog Olive, was there, and I sat down in front of the fireplace, and it felt so weird. It felt so awkward. I sat in hero's pose. So sitting with my knees and my legs underneath me. I wasn't sitting like crisscross applesauce or like on a bolster. I really didn't know what I was doing. And I just sat down and closed my eyes and thought about how much life sucked right then. And then I was like, why is Olive just moving around the apartment right now? I can hear her sniffing everything. And then I can hear my neighbors yelling downstairs. Oh, what's my neighbor across the street? I can smell what they're making for dinner. Okay, cool. So I like literally sat there and just monologued everything that was going on around me in my head. Couldn't get out of my head. Couldn't find breath. Couldn't do anything. So all that time, I had my timer set for 10 minutes, and like all this stuff going through my head, and like this is crazy, all this stuff. And I looked down, I'm like, it's got to have been like 10 minutes at least. I looked down, it'd been like 45 seconds. I'm like, God damn it, I got like 9 more minutes of this. Holy hell. And then, I found my peace, and next thing I know, the timer went off. I'm like, oh, cool, all right, well, that was the first one, and then I just kept going. This next day, sat down in quiet, and I don't think I actually meditated in what we would consider traditional meditation for the first couple of years. I just sat there in quiet and listened to my breath, and listened to the dog, smelled my neighbors, listened to them argue, whatever it was, but eventually it turned into a practice of like I found my peace, and through that is just that regularity, and so just been kind of building on that now.
They roughly came at the same time, or like yoga was like 6 months, a year.
2 years before.
2 years before meditation.
Yep.
And you were all in yoga, and then did you like notice with meditation, like as a person, as a dad, and you're like, I need to do this every day?
I started noticing the effects, most definitely. Like
Right.
I started seeing the positive effects of it, but it was still something that I was searching for, and that's something that it's kind of hard to sit down with neutrality in the very beginning with anything, right? Like I said, with yoga, it was vain. I wanted to get in shape, But what we start to learn in this spiritual path that we're on is that the more you start to yearn for something, the harder it is to find. So keeping that equanimity and that neutrality with your mind, like with Vipassana meditation we mentioned earlier, like when you scan your body, if you feel a sensation, you try not to attach a name to that sensation, like it's a good sensation or a bad sensation. Because if it's good, then you're going to search for it in the future. And if you don't find it, it's going to create sorrow. And if you label it as bad, it automatically creates sorrow because you're like, oh, this is a bad thing. But if you just observe that thing as it is and not put a name on it, then you're just observing of it,
Right.
So, that was, something that we all have to learn through our path. But in the very beginning, it was like, why am I not finding peace? Why is my knees hurt?
Yeah.
I actually injured myself meditating one time because I was.
It's intense.
Yeah, totally.
It can be, it's like, you gotta be comfortable.
Totally.
I think that's a big thing about meditation. You have to be, if you're going to sit there for a while, you gotta have the right cushion, your knees supported.
Yeah.
One of those meditation chairs, I call it the game changer chair that they gave me at Vipassana, that it has like that back. That was like.
Yeah. There's so many just meditation apparatus now that just to help you out.
I think it's
great.
necessary if you're going to have a meditation practice, a consistent meditation practice, to have the proper tools, just with anything, right? Just like art, have the right supplies.
Well, and also, I mean, just like if you're hesitant about meditation because of like, I can't sit like that, or I can't think like that, is all just stuff that doesn't need to be part of your conversation with yourself. Like, you do not need to sit in lotus position. You do not need to.
You can lay down.
You can lay down. You can stand up. You can walk.
Yeah.
Moving meditations, like you can meditate any way you want to, right? Don't let the I don't have an hour of the day. You got 5 minutes, right? right? Yeah, we all got 5 minutes.
Right.
Like we did not all used to have phones 20 years ago, and now we spend hours a day on our
And like
phone.
5 minutes is better than no minutes.
Right,
So if
exactly.
that's all that you have, like carving that time out for yourself.
Yeah, you do what you do.
So have you all? Because I mean, the yoga, and I feel like correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
When you get into something, you're all in.
That's newer. That's
Is
newer.
that new,
Yeah,
or has it always been that way? Okay.
No, that's newer.
Because that's like, you're like that with your like, let's say there's these vitamins.
Right.
You take them every day.
I do, yeah. Most
let's
definitely.
say that there's this you're going to start reading in the morning, and you read every morning. You're going to start journaling, you journal every, like you really commit yourself, and it's really awesome. It's inspiring. Me, totally opposite. But I love like that's where I was like, I want to talk about your morning routine.
Yeah.
Is you start your day committing yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
You 7 I can like
I wake up at 7.
7:30
Yeah.
7 o'clock, 7:30,
Yep.
the alarm goes off. You get up, cuddle Olive immediately, use the restroom, brush your teeth, start the coffee. Oh, I know.
Yep,
I know
yeah,
it.
yep.
You start the coffee, then you meditate for 40 minutes.
About an hour. 50 minutes now, yeah.
Okay, hour, and then you come out and you drink your coffee and you read.
Mhm.
Cuddle Olive some more.
Yep. Eat some breakfast.
Eat some, yeah. And by breakfast, you mean yogurt, peanut butter granola, blueberries.
Yep.
And you mix it all up.
All up.
And
Totally. Yeah.
every single morning. And by the time I wake up, you've done all of this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, I roll out of bed at
I'm
like
in it.
8:39. That's like being nice to my, like,
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of lying to the listeners right now. 9 a.m. is probably like
That's about right.
what time
Yeah.
I wake up, unless I'm teaching, and then it's 8.
Yep.
And but you like have this like solid, it's so impressive. And I wish that I could, I don't know, have hard time with consistency.
Yeah.
Anything consistent, and I always have. And like I've had a hard time just like having routine and ritual, and I see and understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
And I really struggle with doing any one thing every day, other than honestly the only thing that I do every day, like mindfully, is brush my teeth.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, I think for
like,
me,
I don't even drink coffee every day.
yeah. Well, and you don't need to have a daily ritual or routine. So
No, but can we just talk about, like, don't you think you're really setting yourself up for success if you do?
I do, and that's the
I
reason
do
why I
too.
do it, right? So, okay, this is the reason why I have the routine that I have, or I think the reason why I can adopt routines. So through the reading that I've done, I dabble a lot in reading about like everything from our origin as human beings, where we've come from, and from the textbook side to the alien abduction side, right? Everything in between. A lot of spiritual reading, a lot of cognitive understanding of our brain, the brain functions, parasympathetic, sympathetic nerve system, like how our bodies react, our somatics, the way we can somatically calm down our bodies through breath work and meditation, things like that. And so I can't remember which book it was, but I came across, I started reading a bunch of books on the way the brain works. And the brain, for lack of a better term, it's a pattern making machine, right? And it loves to recognize patterns and understand patterns. And so the more that we could have ritual and pattern in our life, the more we can save brain space and energetic field, right? We don't have to expend so much energy because the brain is used to doing what it's used to doing. That doesn't always work throughout the entire day, right? Because you can't just have everything be a pattern. That's, we get a lot of trouble with that. That's where stereotypes come in. That's where, when we're not thinking consciously, our pattern making brain is looking at the patterns that our consciousness has made, and maybe sometimes our subconscious. And if we're not conscious of those decisions that our pattern making brain is making, sometimes it gets us in trouble because we're just on autopilot. We're like, shit, did I just say that? I didn't mean that. That was terrible. That was just a calculated, that was a conjured response, right? But with things like the morning routine, if I don't have to wake up and think about what I'm going to eat that day or that morning, if I don't have to wake up and think about like, well, what am I going to do these first 2 hours of my day? It's right in there, right? And the brain just goes into this mode of like, cool, we're doing the things we're doing, right? And so like, in a way, my subconscious is going crazy because it's constantly thinking about all this other stuff that it can do because it's not tied to the decision making that the conscious brain is making. So in my way of thinking about it and looking at it is by having this very structured 3 hours or so in the morning with my meditation included, that gives my brain the power to really just do the things that it needs to do to get the rest of my day rolling.
Yeah. I love it. And you're like, we've traveled quite a bit, and it's just, you're so dedicated, and it's really cool to see like where you meditate. Like I have like a couple visions, like we've lived in 2 different houses basically, and so like you had a whole room at the house when we first started dating, and then we've had multiple different rooms in this house.
Yeah, we kind of bounced around a little bit.
Yeah, bounced around, and then traveling. My favorite, I like have this vision of you of when we were on the cruise for my 30th birthday.
Yep.
And you'd wake up and be in a different country, right? And so I'd wake up and like see Adam meditating at sea or in a different space. And the morning that we woke up in Honduras and you were meditating, and like I opened my eyes and you were on our balcony and we were so high up, and there was just like 80,000 shades of green with like the bluest water I've ever seen, jungle lush. Yeah. It was like, I'll never forget that feeling of like waking up to that and like looking over and just like seeing you meditate, like almost secondhand meditation. Like that's all I was saying. I like miss when you do it in the room.
Yeah.
Because I do feel that energy of it. It's just like you have this really calm wave that's around you. It's just like vibrating just softly and sweetly and very calm. Like it even makes Olive calm.
That'll calm that tramp down.
Near impossible, but it's just it's really beautiful. And I've, come and gone and tried to meditate with you here and there. I have my own form of practice, right? Yeah. And, but it's not, not comparing because it works for me. But
yeah, exactly.
I really love that you are so committed. I'll never, also like really knew that you were the one when I asked you if you wanted to go do a 10-day silent meditation course with me. Like, wow, I don't know any other guy that's like, okay, I'm in.
Just do it.
You were talking about Vipassana and like not talking, but what Adam didn't mention is we got in trouble for passing a note back and forth to each other.
I got in trouble.
Yeah.
I was trying to pass a note to Monica, and then one of the instructors called me up, and he was super polite and very, very sweet. And the way I think we were 6 days in, so we were over the halfway mark. But,
oh my god!
But yeah, he's very sweet in what he said.
Go stretch next to each other just to be by each other. It was so hard.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. He was. It was difficult. God, it was difficult, but it was one of the most beautiful things that I think we've done. But definitely, one of the more beautiful experiences of my life. One of the most challenging things, with Vipassana, you're forced to deal with things you haven't dealt with in life.
Absolutely.
You got nothing to do but deal with your thoughts.
There's certain things that that are going to come up, right? You're like expecting them to.
Right, yeah.
But then it like surprises you what does. You're meditating for like 11 hours out of the day, and everything just surfaces, and then sometimes there's nothing.
Right.
But it was a really beautiful experience to do together, and the first couple days I'm like, oh my god, this is distracting, we should have done this separately, I want to talk to him, I want to leave, I don't want to be here, this is crazy, I gotta go. He's gotta go, he's got the keys. Oh no. But then it
all the thoughts
started getting easier, and then it would get really hard again. Day 8 was so hard for me, but like there was the waves, but it definitely like there was like moments where I would like feel you like outside on the field, and I would like look over and you were like looking at me like all the way across,
totally.
We had separated paths, the female versus the male, and I like would know that you were with me, and so it was really helpful to like know that you probably were having your fair share of struggles too, and wondering, but I had so many questions like, how's Adam? Does he know that I'm not going to say that, but but there's just like certain things, like I wonder if he's laughing that Goenka's Like, why is his beard? You had a long beard. I remember looking over at you one day and you had
Oh
the beard
yeah,
braided, and I was like,
yeah.
okay.
And that was a weird one. Like I
It's
had,
time to go
yeah, I had
home.
like I had a elongated beard. I think it was probably like 5 to 6 inches long, right? So I just went through that phase of having that big ass beard, and I went to Vipassana with that, and it was I can't remember what day it was. I think it was like day 3 or 4, so I struggled a lot. Like Mom was saying, like we're joking about it now, but like I was deep into some depression and just dealing with some shit at that point, and not because of Vipassana, but because like I finally gave my body and my mind the space to deal with the shit that I
Allow
had dealt
things
with.
to surface.
Right, yeah. And so I forgot what I was talking about.
The braid in your beard.
Oh, the braid in my beard. Yeah. So this is like day 3 or 4, and I'm like just deep into it, and I was so just stressed and depressed and anxious that my beard, I don't know if this is the cause of it, but my beard started splitting in the middle, and like it was
Oh,
almost like sideshow Bob, right? Like half went to the right, half went to the left. I'd pull it down in the center, and it would still like just split in the middle. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So I ended up taking one of my hair ties, because I got long hair, and I braided it up and just pulled it down in the center, just keep everything down there. I don't know what it was, but then like I got home, we got home from Vipassana. I think like a couple days later, I went upstairs and just shaved it
you
off.
didn't
I
even
didn't even
say
tell you.
anything.
I didn't
No,
tell
you
you. I
just
was like,
came down with a
fucking.
face. I was like, oh, hey, yay, handsome.
Yeah. So yeah, that was weird, but great. There was a time in I think it was the 8th day
Oh,
where I finally started like settling in, and I've stopped. I started to work through some of the demons that I was working through, and find some peace. And I remember I was sitting. It was a nice day too. We went in, I think, January, February, so it was
January.
yeah, snowy for the
Hmm.
most part. And but there was a day that day 8 where it was finally nice, and I was feeling really good that day. And there were a couple benches on the walking path for men. And we have a long break
I
after
really
lunch.
hope that you're telling the story that I hope
I
that you're
think so.
telling
I
me
think it's
today.
and so we have a long break after lunch, and so I was sitting out there on the bench enjoying my tea, had some green tea. The sun was shining. Like I literally, it was such a gorgeous day. Like I was having such a good day, and there's this guy that walked by me, and I see this guy walking all the time, and we can't talk to each other, so I have no idea what this guy's name is or his story or anything. But I see him walking all the time, and he's like a fast walker. Like there's people that like during the breaks that we have in the walking paths, like a lot of people are just like
Olympic speed
sauntering and
walkers.
just like kind of shuffling their feet, like the old man shuffle. But this dude was like in it to win it, man. He was like he should have been wearing like a gold lame jumpsuit in the '80s, just like buzzing around the fucking mall at like 8 o'clock in the morning, getting all those blue light specials and shit. He was just going. And so he walked in front of me, and I'm like, I'm gonna time this guy. I got nothing to do. I got 2 hours to kill. I'm gonna time this guy, right? And there's like two big walking paths. There's one that I can see, and then there's one by the dorms that I can't see. And this guy was utilizing both, right? So he steps in front of me. I was like, cool, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just started counting. And I was like, okay, cool. And he disappeared off to the other walking path, and I'm like 108, 109, 110, and I got to like 130, and I'm like still counting in my head, and I didn't see him again because he's another walking path. I'm like, I wonder if he forgot about me. 142, 143, 144, and I'm like, yeah, he probably forgot. He probably went somewhere else. 167. Oh shit, there he is. 168. There he comes. 169. He comes back around. He's back on our walking path. I'm like, cool, great, all right. And then he gets maybe about 30 feet from me. And I can't remember what step it was, like let's say 240 or something like that. And my man, as soon as he stepped down 240, farted. He ripped ass, and I could hear him. And it was probably the funniest thing that I'd heard in a long time, because I've been silent for 7, 8 days at that point, right? I've gone through every song in my head. I've gone through every shitty
Oh
decision I've made,
God, the
right?
songs.
So
That was hard.
so that was like the funniest thing in the fucking world for me. That man just farted on 240, and then he turned the corner and walked right by me again. I'm like, cool, 1 and it 2 and 3, and he started going again. So I'm like, cool, let's see what happens, right? And he fucking takes off again, goes to the other path, 143, 144, 145, and 168. He comes back around. I'm like, oh shit, you're beating your time from last time. Look at you, 10 steps ahead, man. You're picking up pace, right? Last time you were here, you were at 280 or 180, and now you're at 170. Good on you. Walk, walk, walk. 280 or 249, or sorry, 230, 235, 240, farted again at the same damn spot. He farted again, 240 steps. I'm like, motherfucker, look at your consistency. Look at you go, man. And then he took off by me again. I'm like, I got nothing to do, so I'm gonna sit here again, and just kept counting again, counting. And then the bell rang for meditation, so we had to get up and go meditate. So it's like, but my man was consistent.
It was so
Even
good.
though he was faster in his time when walking back, he still farted at the same spot. God, that was like the most. That was oh,
So satisfying.
so satisfying. I
Yeah.
got such a good kick out of that. Like I meant to talk to him after we could finally talk.
Like, hey, guess what you did?
You amused the shit out of me, my man. For days, you amused me with your flatulence. But yeah, I never got a chance to
That's
talk to him about
probably
it.
for the better, Adam.
Yeah, yeah. But it was good times. We found our ways to amuse ourselves.
Absolutely, especially when there's nothing to
Flatulence
do
involved.
with time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah, that was such a great. It seems like so long ago. I think we're like due for another one.
Yeah,
I don't
was
necessarily
well
know
actually.
if I want to do another Vipassana, but I would do a 10-day silent meditation course. Nothing against Vipassana. I just want to see what else is out
Yeah,
there.
different ones.
Yeah.
Well, when you went to Alaska, I actually applied for another Vipassana one,
That's right.
and they changed the requirements for experienced student. You used to just have to go to one. Now you have to go to like 3.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I think with COVID times, they're just trying to like lessen the amount of people there. So, but yeah, I'm definitely down.
Yeah, they're
If you haven't had a
A
chance,
lot.
I mean, there it is a lot. It is a lot, to be with your thoughts for 10 days. Or they get they do 3-day retreats, but you have to do a 10-day first.
Yeah.
That's why Mom was saying, like something different than Vipassana. You can find good silent retreats that aren't as strict as what Vipassana is, but are also stricter than what Vipassana is.
Right, totally.
So yeah, choose your journey.
Vipassana is financially.
Yeah, it's great. It's free. It's donation
approachable.
based.
Yeah.
And you don't even they don't ask for donations till after you've had the experience. It's great.
It's great. Kind of hard. I think what I struggled with the most was no yoga there. I did some yin
Right.
in my little bunk room, my area, that you have, but
Right.
I'm definitely missing out on yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so, I mean, our buddy Tang is trying to condition his house for doing more retreats, weekend retreats at his house. So I'd love to take advantage of that once he gets that up
Same.
and running. But
Same. Tang's so great.
yeah, he's the best.
I loved your guys' episode.
Yeah.
And I think that it's, I bet that was an interesting experience for you to go to Vipassana and learn a different way of meditating because you had such a consistent meditation practice already. And then you have like somebody telling you how to meditate.
Right. Yeah. And I've never had a teacher. Like I've had mentors, I've had people that give me guidance and stuff, but I've never had like an actual teacher to sit down and say like, this is your spiritual path and this is, how to meditate and this is how to do this stuff. A lot of it was, I've definitely had people show me, I've had guidance, but I've never had like an official guide. And I think, there's times where I feel like I'm at a point where I do need a little more guidance, maybe not a guide per se, but guidance in general. But at the same time, like I feel that when something is entering into my sphere of awareness, that the guides will show themselves when they need to be, right? So when the student's ready, the teacher appears kind of idea, right? So when I'm ready for guidance, I'll find the right person to give me the guidance, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're my guide, right? I love the old adage, when you meet the Buddha on the road, kill the Buddha. If in that, there's so many people in this day and age that want to tell you that they have the answers for you and that they are your guru and they are the person that you've been looking for to give them, to give you the answers you need. Fuck that person off, man. Yeah. That's the epitome. If you meet somebody on the road that says they're your Buddha, they're your guide, they're your guru, they don't have your best interest in mind.
Yeah.
Right. So leave that person alone, continue on your path. And try not to look back at that person.
But another thing to like somebody is like, I'll mentor you. A little different, I think. Like, I've had people along my path of like, I can help mentor you. And
I think
like,
it's if it's done with the right guidance. Right. If it's like I'm your mentor.
Too. Yeah. You're right. No. Yeah. I can help mentor you.
Yeah.
Or I am your mentor.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting to hear you say that too, because I think you've been a really helpful person you've been a guide for other people.
I've
so many different ways, from meditation to yoga to training teachers, which we talk about,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but
totally.
also like in the restaurant world.
Hmm.
There was another one that I was just thinking of. But you're just kind of a, and you always have been. I mean, go back however long at the beginning of this conversation that you said that you were like 23 when you started your management
Right.
career, you know, and in a way, you're not managing restaurants anymore. You're not managing people,
Right.
but you still are a leader,
Right.
and you've always been a leader. And I think the consistency and dedication that you have to these practices, it's what makes you such a incredible trusted leader. It's just like Tang, you know, and like people that they don't just talk the talk, they live the lifestyle. And you've committed yourself to the lifestyle of like keeping yourself pure from toxins, as well as your committed yoga practice. And your Adam, your yoga practice is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Like, and it's so cool to watch, like even from like when we started dating to now, how much you've changed. You're bendy.
Yeah. Not
You
naturally
are
either.
bendy
That took
and
some work.
strong. I'll like look over and your toes are places and you just like got this face. It's like so serious. It's just so cool, you know. But like also, you help others get bendy
Yeah.
and have their toes touch places. And I mean, when we were allowed to like touch and adjust people.
Yeah.
But I think that you're such an important person in the community, which is why I wanted to interview you today. You
Oh, thank
know,
you.
because I think that you have, and I get to see the inside of how much work that you put in to be that person,
Yeah.
and
Well,
you
I
put in a
appreciate
lot
it.
of work, and it's really beautiful. And I see it, and I love you for it, and it's inspiring to me, and I love watching other people be able to have you in their lives and see what you do. You know, you make time for people and their questions, whether it's about yoga after a class or on the side, or you know, teachers that are not comfortable teaching and come to you, or people that are just having trouble with vices or
Right.
other people or relationship problems, or you know, you're just like this all around great, like in your own way, guru. And
Well, I think there's a gentleman I listen to a lot named Aubrey Marcus,
mhm,
and I love his podcast.
love his podcast.
He's just a good thinker. He's got some good information out there. But he says something that I really adapted to more recently, but it kind of fits to what I've been kind of, I guess, working through. But you know, you have to be fit for service before you can be of service,
Absolutely.
right? And so I think a lot of where I've been is trying to get myself. I've had this kind of weird like sensation in my life to where I feel like I should be of service in some kind of way, but I'm not a military person. I'm not a police person. I don't like violence. I'm not an aggressive person. I don't like the dominance kind of factor that goes along with a lot of those kind of like those professions. But I always felt like I wanted to give in some kind of way, and that's why I think I tied myself to restaurants and to building teams for a long time and to training people because I was fortunate enough to have a man in my life named Jeff Morgan that saw me and saw something behind the dirty fucking grimy hippie that was in front of him and saw some potential. And
Nothing wrong with grimy hippies.
nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing at all. That was his verbiage for me.
Yeah.
And
Wait a minute.
and he saw something in there and he
Yeah.
helped develop me. And so I took that example and tried to hold on to it as much as I can and honor him with that. And so the teams that I would build and the people that I would hire, on paper, might not have been the best position, the best fit, the best whatever, but there was a feeling and there
Mm-hmm.
was something in there, and we ended up making some cool shit happen between the teams that we built, right? So, there was definitely a modicum of that in the trainings that I was doing and the restaurant work that I did, but it was really able to come forth in
Mm-hmm.
this kind of this aspect of my life. And I think that just goes back to that whole idea that like you're never in the wrong place,
Right.
right? If you can find your learning from whatever situation you're in, good, bad, indifferent,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a waste of time, right? I lament sometimes about like, oh man, I was a dumb kid for a long time. Why didn't I find yoga? Why didn't I find peace? Why didn't I listen to Deb when I was 19 instead of now when I'm 30 and 40s, right? And it wasn't my time.
Yeah.
It wasn't my time.
Everything we go through, we grow through.
You got to realize how stupid you are and how ignorant your shit is before you realize how beautiful life can be.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and I think you got to be who you don't want to be who you want to be.
Definitely.
You got to go through those, and they don't stop.
Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah.
still have those setbacks or lessons,
Totally.
rather. You know, where you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Especially in the position that we're in right now, where other people are, you know, looking to these modalities
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, of uh, healing in order for their own path. And
Right.
I think that it's really important to show up for yourself, so you are taking care of, so your cup is full,
Right.
and you're healthy and strong and mentally healthy and physically healthy, and, you know, pure of toxins. You know, that's a big thing of like why we both have, you know, dialed it back with
Right.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, just like, I'm not gonna like show up hungover. It teach it like, take a deep breath in, like there's like wine on my
Right.
lips,
Yeah.
like pass. But just like taking care of self, and then so we can really show up and be of service
Right.
of others, especially when it comes to like, I think energy healing, Reiki,
Right.
and energy healing is like I don't want any alcohol 48 hours within
Right.
my system if I'm going to be energetically working with
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah, when we first got attuned in our Reiki 1 and 2, I was still drinking at the time, and you know, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my attunement at the time. I wasn't sure. You know, a lot of it was actually, you know, it was something that you wanted to do, right? And we were searching for things to do together as a couple outside of our yoga, and I was like, yeah, you know what? That's great. Our friend Hannah was doing it, was offering the training. She's Hannah Talbot, Reiki master. Big shout out to Hannah. She's a fucking the shit. Anam Karam Healing Center.
Best.
Just, I mean, Hannah's the shit. We'll have her on
She's the
soon.
best.
But and so one part of it was like, yeah, support our homie, definitely. Let's support Hannah. But at the same time, like, okay, Monica, team Monica and Adam, let's do this together. And then sneaky in there. Oh, hey, here's some self-love. Like, oh man, I didn't realize I didn't love myself until I started doing Reiki on myself. And it's like, oh man, that's what that feeling is. That's
Yeah.
great. But I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it until I quit drinking and then got a Reiki master certification, and then was, okay, this is what you're doing, man. You're on a healing path, not just for yourself, but you're going to hold space for others while they heal. You're going to help them on their journeys. I'm not a healer at all. Not at all.
Yep.
Not by profession, not by choice. I will hold the space for you and give you all the tools that you need to find your healing journey. But
only you can heal yourself.
only you can heal yourself. Right?
But you are your own healer.
It is. Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Definitely.
I think that I truly believe that we are all our own healers.
I agree. It's like you like to say, and like Ram Dass likes to say, you know, we're all just walking ourselves home, you know. And it is, you know, once you realize, it's like that quote we talked about earlier. It's like, you're not learning anything new about yourself. You're not learning anything. You're not enlightened because you've just gained some new knowledge. You're remembering some shit that all this materialistic crap that you've put in your life is blocked.
Yeah.
All this negativity that we talk about ourselves, all these things that we pile onto ourselves to help, quote unquote, add happiness. When we start taking that shit off, we see the light shining so bright underneath all the dimness that we've put on top of that. The material stuff, the alcohol, the chemicals, the drugs, the sex, all the things that we pile on top of ourselves, thinking that we're finding that happiness and we're in search for it. No, there's a modicum of happiness. Oh, look, I just got a thing and then I'm happy for a moment, and then that thing kind of goes away and you're like, oh shit, I'm sad again. What's the new thing? Take that thing away, right? What's underneath that? Take that fucker away, right? What's underneath that? Take that away too. All that stuff. You don't need it. Find your way out of it. Find your way through it. Look, there's a light underneath there. The more stuff you take away, the brighter that light gets. Right? Find the brightness of that light.
Yeah. And hold on to it and keep it charged.
Definitely.
It can get dim. And I think, you know, it's beautiful. It's so special to like hold that space for others too, because we know it works, right?
Yeah.
We've have done that, and I know my own personal journey, which we'll talk in the next episode.
Right,
This
right.
is yours. It's like, and I love that. That's, you know, that you went for a while and you were like teaching teachers how to teach yoga.
Yeah.
It's a fun sentence to
about
say.
2 years. Yeah. A couple years
And
for
it's
that.
like sharing these things that we know works and love. And I think if people are called to be God, if you're called, I'm just going to say this right now. If you are called to be attuned to Reiki and past that, then you need to be doing Reiki.
Yeah. Links in
If
the
you're
show notes.
called to teach yoga, then go through your teacher training and teach
Right.
yoga. Like that stuff doesn't just come up, and those aren't things to ignore. That it's important to follow that voice, follow that spirit, that the universe and your spirit guides barking at you,
Right.
to be of service to others, and to be able to share,
Mm-hmm.
that anybody that's done it and has been on this path, they know that it's going to work.
Yeah.
Knows that it works, and that it has this incredible impact on changing your entire lifestyle.
Right.
To me, that's what I think yoga is a lifestyle. It's not just, it is a practice,
Yeah.
but it's a way of being and living and fully immersing in. And
Totally. Well, that's kind of like the basis of this podcast, the journey of the modern yogi. It's not like just a yogi is a person that does yoga. It's that esotericness of life that you choose to live. What you adapt, and almost like it's a conscious way of living. Like
exactly.
and that's basically what it is. It's a conscious way of living. Like you're not just moving along in the tide of the world around you. Like you actually have a purpose, and you understand the purpose. We all have purposes, right? But you understand it. Like you're living your purpose, and you're not just caught up in what people think you should be doing, right? A lot of you talked about women's circles. We only had a couple men's circles before COVID happened. But Camo Lionheart, who was the first guest, we had a couple men's circles before all this happened, and that was it's that community and that sense of being a part of something, right? It's that having that mutualness around you, that keeps us moving towards that goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna look different for everybody.
Most definitely.
And some people are gonna, love this more and the sound, and some are gonna do Reiki. And I mean, you're a real package deal, Adam. A lot of that, it's everything that we're talking about is like intertwined. Like, you're well read. We just talked about all the things that you like to read about, right? So not only have you practiced for a long time, but you also educate yourself on these things that you're learning about. You don't just play sound bowls.
Right.
You know what sound does to the body,
Yep.
how it heals you on a physical level, where it affects your brain, and why. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
that's just sound, and the same with, sorry, real quick,
Yeah.
but also I'm just going to go through the checkbox really quick. You have yoga, right? And out of most of the teachers that I know, about the anatomy of the human body more than, and you're like, oh, okay, well, this is your lumbar L3, this is it, and this is why you shouldn't bend like that, and that's why you have to have the props under here. Anytime anybody has an injury, you're still a mentor of mine, and I've been teaching for almost 4 or 5 years now.
5 years, yeah.
And so it's like, so much about the human body, about the philosophy of yoga, about the 8 limbs and like the whole, okay, check. Reiki, you understand and have read all about where it comes from, how, to practice it on daily, how to practice on others. And then we have the book of like, somebody has headaches or gout or this or that or that or that or that, right? Well read. Sound is the same thing.
Right.
So you educate yourself on these things.
Right.
So then you have more tools and more ways to just really master it almost.
Right.
And understand it and have a relationship with it of why these things, not only, okay, I know it feels good, but this is why.
Right.
Science-backed evidence.
Well, I like I heard somebody say a while back, and it kind of just resonated with me, is that, you can hear somebody's philosophy, and that's great, but that's not the real philosophy of life. You see their philosophy in life, how they live, right? So somebody can tell you, this is my philosophy of life, all they want. But if they're not, how do you know they're living that, right? So get out there and see how a person lives their philosophy.
Yeah.
And that's something that always resonated with me. It's like, it's like walk the walk, talk the talk, right? If you're going to be out there and do some stuff, man, be as educated as you can with it.
Yeah.
Right. And that doesn't mean that, and I don't want to go out there and say that like you need to be certified in all the things that you practice.
Right.
Right. I don't even think that's the right thing, because, I make this joke a lot, but I mean, back in Stone Age days, when there wasn't even the name Reiki, right? When we were just doing energy work on people, you had Onk and Zonk, right? Onk knew Reiki, Zonk didn't, right? Zonk didn't have to go to some like 6-week course to get certified for Reiki. Onk just showed him what's up, right? And I'm not discounting anything that any practitioner does or any certifications that we need, because sometimes it is good to have that practiced person show you exactly what you need to do. But also, if you find your ways of learning and you know how to learn as a human being and what makes you the most successful in your learning practices, then I honestly don't believe that you do need a person to hold your hand the entire time to show you the things. You can find, once you have the good basis of knowledge and you feel comfortable with that knowledge and you feel confident that you can go out there with that knowledge and not damage people, then build on that knowledge the best way you know how. And that doesn't have to be through a certified person. That could be through literature. That could be through podcasts. That can be through practice and error. But, get the knowledge somehow, right?
Yeah.
Find your way to get your knowledge.
And it's still, and know that it's within you.
Yeah.
If you feel it, right? It's just like what we're saying. Like, so last year for our stay home retreat, Carmen and I had that stay home retreat. We did a distance Reiki,
Right.
and I, went through Hannah's Reiki 1 and 2, spent a whole weekend, learned about it, been practicing. Carmen had gotten attuned in Spain over breakfast
Right, yeah.
before she flew home, because they were like, I feel like I need to attune you, because it was right when the pandemic started, and
Right,
she was flying internationally from Spain back to the States, Washington, months earlier than she should have, and things were, we all felt it. Everybody, not everybody, but most people knew that there was heaviness.
Shit was going on.
Shit was hitting the fan, and but that doesn't mean that my Reiki was more powerful than her Reiki.
Right, totally.
We both had our powers combined. It was a very incredibly powerful experience, and I think that it was because both of us, and so it just.
You find your
and since then
ways with your gifts,
right? And since then she's taken a training because she wanted to learn
part of that.
more about it. Yeah, totally.
I helped her with the Reiki level 1.
Yeah. With how do you like doing things like that? Like, I know that you're a natural guy. Do you enjoy sharing these things?
Most definitely, yeah. I the more that I can be a part of, like, the sharing of knowledge, right? And whether that's part of a training, a conversation, like a scheduled conversation, or just like an after the yoga class conversation, right? Just the sharing of knowledge is the thing that really jazzes me up, and it just, because it's not proprietary. Like, knowledge isn't proprietary. Even and I can make the argument for even like let's say Isaac Newton, right? It developed physics as we know it, the early editions of physics, right? That came from his brain, right? But at the same time, like, thousands of miles away, another person in a different continent where we didn't have telephones, we didn't have ways to communicate besides like writing letters and stuff that took months and years to get to places. Around that same time, another person developed physics as well.
Isn't that amazing?
Right. So, like, to my understanding and the belief system that I have is that we do have a shared consciousness. And so even that idea that you feel that you've just manifested, you have this brilliant idea, it came from somewhere that was gifted to you. Right. And what you choose to do with that gift is up to you. But that was a gift that was given to you. Right. And it might be shared with somebody else. Right. So, like, when I start to think about stuff like that, when I sit down to write, it takes the pressure off of it, right? Because I'm not trying to conjure something up out of nothing. I'm trying to tap into the thing that's trying to talk to me. I'm trying to tap into the universal knowledge that's trying to share with Adam, because Adam's proven that Adam can do some cool stuff with the knowledge that they're going to share, right? And that's a gift that's been given to me. Yeah. And I'm cherish that gift.
It really is a gift. You're very much a sponge. Like the information that you hold, like everything. I read something and then I sometimes have to read it like 20 times over, like the same page. Like, it takes a while for it to stick. And I feel like you're like, I don't even want to say a sponge. I want to say like one of those, those bug like lines of paper. And they get the bugs on them, or like sticky. And then you like look and like there's like 1,000 bugs on this one bug strip. Each bug is a thought, and you are the strip. Yeah. But you're like the best. I love so many things about you, but you're like, one of the things I love is like, you're the best dinner party guest. You can talk about anything to anybody,
even sports.
It makes me mad. It makes me like
I don't
sports, and you don't watch sports, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, alley oop on the da 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 da, and you like know like history. It's just, it amazes me all the time, and I also love that you are so open to have conversations wherever they land, whether it is at that dinner party after the yoga class or even at the grocery store. Like, you take time to know people's names. You know everybody that works at QFC, you know the people that work at the Thai restaurant. Like, you make sure that you eye to eye and like see people and make them feel seen and have those conversations. Like bead stores, like people remember you, and
I think
it's pretty special.
one of the biggest gifts that we can give somebody is our attention. So we can take time to pay attention to somebody. The first person that I remember that paid
That is so sweet.
unequivocal attention to me, and not just me, but just in people in general. There's this guy that I worked with at IPIC named Andrew. Gosh, I can't remember his last name now, but he was a transplant from Australia. The Gold Class Cinemas was originally an Australian concept, so we had some Australians come over to help us open it up. And Andrew, gosh, I can't remember his last Sawyers. Andrew Sawyers. He is just a gem of a human being. Like, he's such a good man. I probably haven't even talked to you about Andrew Sawyers. But just a really good human being. I really connected with him. Real soft spoken, but fun, get shit done kind of guy. But he was the first person that I really remember that, like, no matter what was going on around us, we could be on a 4-hour wait. The kitchen could be blowing up. I mean, just all the things that could be happening that are bad. And you could go to him with an issue and he would stop everything that he was doing, take his glasses off and look at you in the eye and say, "Hey, what's up? What you got?" And everything around would shut off and he would just give you his attention. And I've been blessed to have enough people in my life that led by that example, whether Jeff Morgan, Tang, or Andrew Sawyers, that I feel the impact. And I love the way that it made me feel. And so if I can give somebody a modicum of that feeling, just from the free gift that I have as far as my attention, let's do it. Right? Sometimes we just need to be heard.
Exactly. I think that we all need to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
We deserve that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Especially our workers right now.
Yeah. There's so much,
like there's just so much, everybody's so hasty.
Yeah.
And
then,
like frustrated. And
there's people that are forced to be upholding rules and laws that they don't even believe in, right? You got, and I'm not trying to get political or anything with this, but like if you have your bagger at the grocery store, that this 16-year-old child, at their first job, they're trying to help family out by getting a COVID job, working at a grocery store and bagging groceries and stuff. Why is that kid supposed to be responsible for telling some 40-year-old man to put his mask back on?
Right.
And then put himself in that confrontational situation like that?
That kid should be worrying about like why their prom is canceled.
Right. And that, so it's kind of shitty like that. So, in let's take COVID times, right? You're walking around, you can only see about a quarter of everybody's face, and through a lot of people's eyes, they wear their emotions. And we can't, like, with me, you can tell I'm smiling because my eyes disappear. My eyes would go away. Right? And I just go to like these little slits of eyes, right? But like a lot of times we can't sell what people's emotions are from their eyes, right? And so we're cutting off half of the emotional receptors that we have through the vision that we have. And then, then those times where like there's just angst and anger and all this stuff that does spew out because of the anxiety that people have built up. That's not even because of the checker that has to make them ask them to put their mask on, but because of all the other stuff that's going on in the world. Yeah. Right? You just be nice to some people. Yeah. Right? Go up and start a conversation. I had a buddy one time it works in restaurants, that he said, don't you get sick of it? Like whenever you ask somebody, hey, how's your day going? And they actually answer the question. And I'm like, no. Why don't you find a different way to ask the question? Yeah. Right? If you don't care about how somebody's day's going, then don't ask them how their day's going flippantly. Hey, welcome to whatever establishment you're in. My name's blah, blah, blah. Can I take your order? You don't have to say, hey, how's it going? My name's Adam. How are you today? And then when they ask, be like, oh, God, fuck, why did you answer that question? It's like, no, why did you ask the question?
Right.
Be ready for the answer, right? Be a human being. Ask them how their day's going. And if they say, it's kind of crappy today, follow it up. Hey, what's up, man? Because they're being vulnerable. They're taking a chance. Mm-hmm. They're putting themselves out there to be vulnerable to somebody that just asked them a question that they're not sure if they should answer honestly.
Yeah, it's too bad to hear too, because it's like one of the things I loved about working in restaurants, and now that it shifted to yoga,
yeah,
because I get the same thing but without like the debauchery of restaurant
right,
or
yeah.
the hours. But is that to like, you never know what people are going through,
right? Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they walk through the doors and they're under your watch. And for the next hour of time,
Right.
may it be a meal or a flow, you don't have to worry about all of those things. You can just sit and have some food and laugh and
Mm-hmm.
relax and be present, or go through yoga and like just like have that opportunity to like be held,
Yeah.
and it was really important to me as a bartender, especially because people come in sad a lot
Yeah.
and or frustrated, or they come to have a drink and some food, and it's like, hey, you're here,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay,
Right.
I'm here with you. I never was. I've like gotten in trouble for being too personable.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And that's it's. That's one of the reasons why people love bartenders so much.
Yeah.
Is that unbiased ear that they can kind of just like vent to and probably never see again. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so it's nice to have that. We did that thing sidewalk talk for a little while,
Yeah.
where you go out. We were part of this group called Sidewalk Talk, and we'd go out to like public places in Seattle on weekends and set up folding chairs and signs that said, "You talk, we listen." That's it. I'm not going to give you advice. I'm not going to tell you you're doing it wrong. I just want you to talk. I'm just going to listen to you, because sometimes people just need an unbiased, open ear that's not going to give them any advice. Just going to sit there and smile and let them get off with their chest what they need to get off of. And that was so therapeutic for the few people that we were able to talk to. And even for myself, just being that active listener and not try to solve people's problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I'm very guilty of, and that I try to figure out is like, I'm a problem solver, right? So if you come to me with a problem and you don't precursor it with like, hey, I just need somebody to vent, I don't need a problem solved, immediately my brain's going to start solving that problem for you, right? And so if you don't want that problem solved, and it's annoying to have that problem attempt to be solved, right? I'm the
Yeah.
wrong guy,
We
right?
really have to check in with each other of like,
Yeah.
what was that? I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was something along the lines of like, do you just need me to listen, or do you want me to consult?
Yeah.
Or like have because sometimes, I come at you and like I call it sexy Buddha. Like, don't sexy Buddha me. Well, have you thought about it? And where do you think that you can? I'm like, let me be miserable.
I don't know if I told you this, but Jessica, our former roommate, she obviously doesn't want to call me sexy Buddha because, right?
Yeah.
So she calls me Buddhism.
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 Buddha Adam.
Buddhism.
Buddhism.
How did you not let me hear this information until right now?
It's just
Buddhism.
Buddhism.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Buddhism.
Yeah. By no means am I accepting that moniker that I am anywhere near close to the wiseness of Buddha, but that's just whatever.
So I want to go back to sound because I paused it and then we had 80 conversations, but the physical transformation that can happen with sound healing.
Yeah, with what they've experimented with so far, and
Can you
with
talk
some of
a
the
little bit about that?
Yeah, so with sound healing, think about your body. Our bodies are made of 80% water, roughly, and sound is very, very travels very well through water, right? Think about a whale, right? A whale can communicate with another whale. They've figured at minimum of 1,000 miles away, through water. There are cases where there are scientists that have experiments that show that whales can communicate farther than that, like across the world. Like a whale can be in the Pacific Ocean and communicate with a whale in the Atlantic Ocean, like all the way across the world. So a lot of cool stuff that happens with sound. And so if you take sound through the body is going to accept sound very well. And so some of the science that goes in with sound is that your body, when it gets into a point of dis-ease before it gets disease, right? When we just find this imbalance in our body, that the vibrations around us can help us restore the vibrations of our body, right? So some of the science, some of the experiments that they're doing right now are with, let's say, cirrhosis of the liver, right? So cirrhosis of the liver is a really big issue in especially the West, because we overconsume alcohol, right? So we put our liver into distress, and it causes disease and really bad for the liver, right? So one of the ideas is but we can't hear what a liver sounds like. It's not within our spectrum of hearing. Like we can only hear 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So, but the liver, a healthy liver makes a sound just like an unhealthy liver makes a sound, right? So what they're doing now, one of the experiments they're doing is they're like recording what a healthy liver sounds like and getting the frequencies of what that sounds like, and then playing that to a person that has a damaged liver, right? And so your body will hear what that healthy liver sounds like and start to put your unhealthy liver in frequency with the healthy liver, right? And so with that, you're restoring that frequency vibration into your body. And so it's helping to manage the disease that way. Some of the other experiments are doing are, let's say, with cancer, right? So let's say pancreatic cancer vibrates, that tumor vibrates at a specific frequency. So if you think about a glass, right? So like a glass, and we've seen the opera singers and like cartoons and stuff where you sing, you hit that note and the glass vibrates and then shatters. So same kind of idea, right? That's a real thing. That's not just a cartoon thing. There's actual like that. That's a thing. So what they're doing is they're finding the frequency at which that tumor can shatter, and they're putting that frequency into the body, and that tumor hears that frequency, and then that tumor will shatter. So now we're finding ways to remove cancerous tumors from the body without having to do any invasive surgery at all. You just find that vibration and you put it on there, and then it takes care of that. Also with, like, let's take the example of like Prozac. A lot of Americans right now are on antidepressants. So let's take Prozac. Prozac has a vibration, right? It vibrates at a certain level. So instead of giving you this drug that we know that has a stronger effect from the placebo effect than the actual effect of the drug itself, right? This is all physical facts that you can find on the FDA's website, that the actual drug that you're taking has less effect than just the thought of you taking that drug, right? Which is kind of weird to think about. But instead of having to ingest this chemical into your body that's going to ravage your body and make you addicted to it and cause all these other side effects, you can take the vibration of what that chemical does, introduce that vibration into your body in a non-invasive way, and then get the same effects, where you're getting the positive effects of that and not the negative effects. So there's a lot of really cool understandings and of science about that, where we're non-invasive surgeries, we're able to work through schizophrenia and bipolar disease or bipolar disorders, things like that. But with the sound baths that we do, where it's more generalized sound, not very specific sound for the person receiving it, it's more of like group settings. The vibrations are more geared towards your chakras and realigning and reestablishing the vibrations of your chakras, right? All of our chakras, the 7 that we practice in our personal practice, vibrate at key of C in your root chakra all the way up to the key of B in your crown chakra. So in theory, if you have if you're feeling something in your heart chakra and that you're imbalanced, I can play something in the key of F, play something in the key of F, and that'll help restore the vibrational patterns of your heart chakra and get you back into alignment. Right. So those are some of the ideas with that. So whether it's through a crystal bowl, a Tibetan singing bowl, tuning forks that we have, those are all like those pitches that are specific to the body. But then, any sound can be healing, right? So if you take like the drumming, for example, right? Sometimes we have a blockage somewhere, right? In that drum playing over, let's say, your heart, let's say that back to the heart blockage, we'll play that drum over your heart. That drumming will break up some of that energy blockage that you might have in your heart. And then we can use other sounds or Reiki modalities to help smooth out the energies once we get there, right? So some of those abrupt sounds and those abrupt modalities are those things that need to break that shit up sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like when we have dissonance, like a lot of with sound healing, you have the complementary tones where things sound beautiful together and the brain's like, oh, that's warm and fuzzy and I just want to curl up next to a fireplace and that's great. And then you have these sounds that sound like they're fighting with each other, like they're little siblings. And it's like, no, it's my toy. No, it's my toy. Yeah, it's like when you have the window rolled down halfway on the freeway and nobody else does and you just go that whoa, 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 whoa. So that's a dissonance, right? And so through that, your brain starts fighting over who hears it best, right? Your right brain's like, I hear it. And your left brain's like, no, I hear it. And it's trying to create that third tone like it does with the pretty tones, but it can't because they're off each other. And so through that fighting and bickering back and forth, you end up finding balance. And you find peace because the brains are just like, you have it. No, you have it. Now I'm done. Okay, we're good, right? And so you get that balance through the dissonance, So there's a lot of, and it's, let's say Tibetan bowls have been used for centuries, if not longer, right? Crystal bowls are more newer. I'd say probably maybe a couple hundred years, maybe 100 years or so. But sound healing's been around for, since Ankh and Zonk, right? Let's bring it back to them. I mean, we've been using sound healing. I mean, whether it's the rhythm of the drum,
Right.
you know, s- songs were developed as a way to keep beat for the storytellers,
Mm-hmm.
so they can keep cadence with
Mm-hmm.
what they're the stories they were telling. That's how songs were developed,
Mm-hmm. And to
right?
pass down stories.
Totally, yeah. Because you can always remember a song
Yep.
quicker or better than you can remember an actual story,
Mm-hmm.
and we can remember stories easier than we can remember actual like written language,
Yeah.
right? So if we can tie it back to an emotion, which is a story, or if we can tie it back to a melody, which is a song, then our brain has a better way of remembering that stuff. That's why we didn't have written word for the longest time.
Right.
Yeah, we just passed it down by lineage through songs.
Fascinating.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
That was crazy stuff. Thank you for that
Little spiel.
ditty.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I feel like I can ask you about anything and you would know that much information about it.
Yeah.
Whether it's like Olympic speed walking or
Which is a thing. It's a thing.
or like the star constellations. I don't know,
Random knowledge, man.
random
It's
knowledge,
in there somewhere.
Random knowledge.
Right.
That's because you're well read.
Yeah.
You got like 3 books going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's, there's a lot of different brain vitamins that I've been playing with that have led me to where I'm at now. And the neuroplasticity of the way that our brain absorbs information, been playing around with that a lot too.
totally. And removing the plaque off of too, right? The like recovery work.
Yeah. There's, like I said, I dabbled a lot with drugs in my younger days, and I, damaged a lot of brain cells, and so I'm, trying to get back to a point. But then, I won't even go there. But yeah, it's a journey, and it's if part of so one of the things that I read a while back was, and this goes to, if you don't have that brain that can just remember shit whenever it needs to, that's fine. That doesn't mean the information that when you read that information, it didn't land in a special way.
It's like when you meditate, or like when you're like me during you fall asleep.
Right.
Your like subconscious is still receiving
Totally,
the information.
Yeah, but I said, somebody asked me the other day in our sound bath, that ended up sleeping through it. She's like, "Well, was it just a waste of time because I just fell asleep during the sound?" Hell no. You did exactly what your consciousness needed to break, and your body received all that healing.
That's like what makes sound baths so lovely. Is like it like, I think, some of the feedback that I get is people that have a harder time relaxing and easing. It almost forces you to that. Yeah, right. You have no other choice than to be like part of the bowls.
Right. Yeah.
You're in them.
Yeah, you're in it. Yeah. I like to tell people. I had some people ask the other day about the difference between Tibetan and crystal bowls, and I told them that crystal bowls are kind of like a hug. They come at you like convex wave. This big hurricane of a wave, and then they come in and they're like loving and hugging. Like, hey, what's up? You got some healing to do? Let's do some shit. Tibetan bowls are no bullshit, man. Right. Those things just pierce. They're like arrows, right? You hit that thing and it just shoots you wherever you want it. It's right there, whether you want it or not. It's coming at you.
That's why it feels so good to put them on the body too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But
yeah. If you're interested in Reiki or energy work, definitely dip a toe in, check it out. And if you know somebody that can do the energy work with some kind of sound or some different modalities,
that's where it's at.
Man, it's just all energy work is great and awesome to receive. But finding the modalities that resonate with your body, right? And so some of it is sometimes it is sound, sometimes it's a scent, like aromatherapy. People like essential oils, in their practices. And some people just like that really, really nice, light, kind of spa-y, like if you would say that a tactile, just a recovery massage versus like a deep tissue massage, right? Sometimes you don't need all the sound, all the craziness that goes with it. You just need the energy work, right? So finding the modality that works best for you, right? It doesn't have to be all the whiz bang stuff that you add on top of it. It can literally just be going outside and put your foot in the dirt.
Totally. Which you should do.
You should do.
Anytime,
definitely.
every day.
The best advice I give people now is go outside and put your feet in the dirt and take a bath.
Yeah.
Take a hot ass bath, man. Get out there, take a bath, get back in your body somehow.
If like you're gonna take a bath, take a bath.
Yeah, take a bath.
Turn your phone off.
This is shit.
And just be. I put myself in the bath like timeout. Like I like like when I need to like write my that's what I did, like how I wrote the everything for the women's, I like all my ideas come in the bath, or
Yeah.
like not all of them, but
But it's
I
those.
find myself able to really receive downloads and connect
Mhm.
with spirit guides and like have like pretty awesome experiences in the bath, because it's like where I'm really allowed myself to like check out and check in.
Right.
And I don't fucking around with the bath. Joanne the other day was like, I heard you were the bath queen. I was like, really? She was like, I just took my first bath in years. And I was telling Camo about it, and he told me to talk to you. And I was like, okay, are you? And I don't think she was ready for like all of the information. Like
Yeah.
when I take a bath, for the most part, first we'll go, and this is all because my girl Carmen, we did at the Stay Home, we did a workshop on baths, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been taking baths wrong this whole time. Like, it'll never be the same. So I will go on a walk
Hmm.
and gather with like a little basket. Usually I'll just like, walk throughout our yard or our neighborhood and gather some things. And then I walk around the house and gather crystals to work with me.
Hmm.
And everything is in like, like a bowl or something pretty, right? And I like usually like set up. I've got 2 drinks in the bath, maybe sometimes even 3: a glass of water, hot tea, and a kombucha or something cold. And I like it like with ice in a straw, because I like to eat the ice.
Hmm.
We have like a plank in our bath too, or off to the side. So like I'll like set it all up. Sometimes if I need to burn something, especially if it's around like full moon, I'll get a bay leaf. So you've got your bath set up, and then you get to like what goes in the bath: salts, essential oils, all of those things that you gathered. May it be like, pieces of flowers or trees,
Hmm.
and then put that in the bath with the salts and all the things. Light a couple candles, crystals, and just like sit there and just be like in nature. Water holds memory, so
Yeah.
it's a really good place to like release things, call in things. And so I'll do that with the bay leaf. I'll either release or call in. I'll write it down and then I'll burn it. I usually have sage. I also will scrub myself down before I get in the bath, and so
Hmm.
like I'll do like a dry rub,
Yeah.
or I'll take a piece of selenite and like wand over myself, and so I'm like nice and clean when I get in the bath. Final note, and there's like so much more I could do. I mean, we did a whole workshop on baths,
Right.
so there's so much more. But when you drain the water, so then you pull out all the leaves, put them back into the bowl that you brought them in, so they don't go down the drain. This part's kind of hard because like the last thing you want to do is like clean up the bathtub after a relaxing bath like that, but it's
Right.
important. And you take everything out, put it aside, or that could be last, and drain the water and drain with it. So all of that energy and
Right.
everything that you're doing is just releasing down, just letting it go down the drain, and you're like feeling it physically. And then you can take all the leaves and the flowers, put them in the bowl, and offer them back to the earth.
Yeah.
That's how I bathe.
I love it.
Not every time. Sometimes I'm like, I'm freezing cold. Epsom, we've got a 50-pound bag of Epsom salt. So sometimes I'll just do that if I just like need to soak my bones.
Yeah.
Because I take so many baths. But if I'm bathing around the moon, full moon or new moon, there's always a moon, but
Yeah.
full moon or new moon, it's ritualistic like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
I've adopted modicums of that from you as well. Not as elaborate as far as the gathering things. Well, not on a regular basis. There's times that I do, but yeah, the baths that I take are more just kind of spiritual release baths. Listen
they
to
are.
like
They can be.
good podcasts or like Ram Dass speeches and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
just sit in the bath for an hour, sweat my ass off.
Oh man, our bath gets so hot.
It's great.
It's so great.
Yeah, very good
I
stuff.
have to take breaks sometimes.
Yeah, you do.
I'm
Yeah.
like, just like
Yeah.
awesome. Well, this has been really great.
Oh yeah, thank you.
For letting
Yeah.
me interview.
Oh,
So,
thanks for flipping it on me.
oh yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, I just think you have so much to share, and the people need to know that you are Adam motherfucking Matthew Real. You practice Reiki. You do sound. You have this beautiful podcast. You teach yoga. You can help other teachers with their yoga teachings, other people with their yoga practice, meditation. You're well read with a full library of books. If you ever have any questions for Adam, I guarantee he's probably got a book on it.
Yes, I
And
do.
then he'll fill out a library card and put it in his little Rolodex and give you the book. Am I missing anything? I said sound,
Sound, father,
father,
spouse,
wonderful partner.
Yeah.
You're just a really good friend.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're a really good friend, and we're all so blessed to have you. So.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Wow. This is all just warm and mushy.
I love you so
Good
much.
Lord. I love you. Well, thanks for interviewing me, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, and I think what Mom was kind of getting at. I don't like to think about all the things that I can do, but I think that one of the reasons I try to do the things that I can do is so I can be more of service to people and to be able to be helpful. So if there's anything I can do to help people, like that's what I'm here for,
Yes.
right? So I'm of service. I'm as fit for service as I can be at this point in time in my life. I'm still working on it, but I'm here for y'all, man. If there's something I can do to help, if there's a word of advice, a book I can offer, a space I can hold, a conversation I can give, a look in the eye, right? Whatever it is, man. Sometimes we just need to be humans. Humans. We're just humans being, right?
And on that note, as we close up our podcast this evening, I invite all of you to pull an Adam, and the next stranger that you see, maybe it be your grocery clerk or the florist at the store or your banker or gas station, look them in the eye and ask them how they are.
And be ready for the response.
And be ready for the response.
Right.
The best gift you can give someone is your attention.
The best gift you can give is somebody's your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give somebody your attention. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much, Monica. Okay. And thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us. Quite the curveball, getting interviewed instead of being doing the interviewing. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the conversation. I guess learning a little bit more about myself and my journey. So please subscribe to the podcast if you're liking what we're doing. Share it with your friends. Let's get the word out. Thank you so much for everybody for your support already. And just look forward to bringing you more cool and esoteric conversations. We'll see you on the next side. Obeisance to you all.